I like that from Brian there. He probably not. During the break, you can learn that when we bring up the live mascot, we refer to it as the bird. Jen thinks that means that she can start telling me I'm number one using her fingers in a particular one.
So is there a listener who would disagree with me?
Yeah,
I'm thinking no.
There you go.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
Did you just flip me off?
No.
Yes, you did. You just flipped me the bird. Now, see, this is exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't shape up, okay, and get your head straight, there, you just flipped me off again.
107.5, The Game.
Oh, welcome in on a Tuesday morning, Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird, as we get you up and going, get you out the door. October 25th. Hope you're doing well. Little Monday Night Football last night. Jen Jensen is out of town for a few days, but I'm sure somewhere she is celebrating still, probably, as last night the Chicago Bears absolutely hammer the New England Patriots 33-14. So you can send Jen some well wishes there on Twitter at Jen Jensen Morse if you want to congratulate her today. Is again, I'm sure she's actually back home in Illinois. It's not too far from Chicago, so I'm pretty sure that yes, she probably snuck out, probably did not tell us the truth, has probably went to no, I think the game was actually in New England, so she went to New England. She went to Chicago. She didn't go to New England. So she was not there to witness the beating that the Bears put on the Patriots last night. But, or at least we hope not. We hope not. But if you want to send a tweet to her today, just checking on her at Jen Jensen Morse is the way to do that. We got a busy show for you. JC Shurburtt will join us as he does every Tuesday coming up at 7 a.m. We will continue to look back at South Carolina's 30-24 victory over Texas A&M, a game that has, again, as I said a lot yesterday, puts South Carolina kind of into just a different place. It doesn't necessarily make them a contender in the East. It doesn't make them a team now that a lot of people look at and say, oh, okay, yeah, they're ready to challenge Georgia or even Tennessee. But it continues to build the program. And that's what meant the most over the weekend. And we'll talk about that, especially with J.C. Shurburtt. And as we move through the morning, we'll talk about what exactly Saturday night meant for South Carolina in terms of the future of the program. Because it is interesting to see the evolution both of Shane Beamer as a coach. And I mentioned that yesterday with a couple things in regards to what we're learning about him. Like in particular, I think you're becoming very confident in saying Shane Beamer, when given extra time to prepare, a week off as he was, has his team ready to go. Now you look back at the instances, the circumstances, the times that Shane Beamer has had extra time to have his team ready to work on motivating and coaching, whether it be the bowl game. I guess maybe you even throw in the extra 2 days playing that South Carolina State game on a Thursday and then having, Friday, Saturday to prepare for Kentucky. I guess you would even throw that in there. I'm not sure if 2 days is necessarily where we're going with it, but, having the bye week last year, you saw what South Carolina was able to do to Florida this year, obviously being able to get off to the quick start against Texas A&M and hold on and get the victory. So we're learning, and part of it is seeing the evolution again of him as a head coach, but also seeing the continued evolution of the South Carolina football program and under his watch. And right now, 5-2. I've seen the statistic out there a little bit that, at this point in his tenure, I hate these statistics, but I'll mention it. Probably shouldn't. But, people saying, well, at this point in his career, Shane Beamer, oh, look out, he's got the same record as Steve Spurrier. Okay, 12-8, yeah, after 20 games, but different circumstances, different teams. I think what Shane Beamer inherited from Will Muschamp is entirely different than what Steve Spurrier inherited from Lou Holtz. And again, different divisions at the time. Playing, back in 2005, Missouri and Texas A&M were not in the league and obviously not a part of the schedule. And that's two teams that Shane will face, obviously, last Saturday and then this coming Saturday night. But if you want to weigh in this morning, 803-404-6100 is how you can do so. You can be a part of the program. As always, you can go to our live stream. DC, Anthony, LeVar, all up and excited to be on the live stream. You can go as well. Go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, click subscribe, join, be a part of the program, as plenty of people will jump in there throughout the morning and conversate, talk about not just South Carolina football, but sometimes conversations on other topics, bourbon, donuts, whatever else, fishing seems to take place, and you can go and be a part of that. We'll get into a little NFL discussion today. Again, I mentioned last night the Bears hammering the Patriots. The Patriots actually made a little bit of a quarterback change, and it looked like for just a little while it was going to pay off. Bailey Zappi coming in replace of Mac Jones, and it looked like there is the Patriots were able to go on a run and take the lead, that maybe Bailey Zappi would be the answer. And then the Bears got going in the second half, actually scored before the end of the half and then put up 13 in the second half and ran away with that football game 33-14. But there was some other NFL news and notes from now the weekend that we'll get into. Another quarterback change in Indianapolis that is kind of interesting. We'll talk about that. So plenty to get into this morning. Again, 803-404-6100 is how you can join us this morning. Richard weighing in on the text line said, my Bears look different last night. Great start to my morning. Yeah, you win a football game typically makes the day that much better. So we'll get into a little bit of that. We'll play some audio from the weekend. If you didn't hear some of Shane Beamer's post-game press conference, we'll get you some of that so that you can kind of recap. Today at 1:30, Shane Beamer, you'll be able to hear him right here on 107.5 The Game, as he will have his weekly Tuesday press conference. So Terry and Jay will have that for you coming up later today at 1:30. We'll be able to hear what Shane has got to say as they transition from the win over Texas A&M. And I mentioned it, the evolution of the football program and seeing where they go. Part of it is, okay, how do you handle success? How do you handle being in the top 25? We'll find out this weekend against Missouri, as the Gamecocks will host the Tigers here in town. Missouri on a 3-game win streak against South Carolina. South Carolina will look to break that. 2018, the last time South Carolina won, it was here in Columbia. It was a monsoon. Michael Scarnecchia came off the bench, made a lot of plays. Parker White kicked a field goal at the very end. It was a fantastic game. And that was the last time South Carolina beat Missouri. So 2019, 2020, 2021, all losses. I don't know if it's interesting that South Carolina's had a different starting quarterback for each of those 3 games. In 2019, it was Ryan Helinski out there coming off of the Alabama game. In 2020, it was Luke Doty actually replacing Colin Hill at halftime here. I believe, if I'm thinking correctly, as I say this kind of as I roll along, I believe that was Mike Bobo's first game as interim head coach. And then last year, obviously going out to Columbia, Missouri, it was Jason Brown getting the start after the big win over Florida, and South Carolina not being able to pull out a victory. So good news. South Carolina will have their 4th starting quarterback against Missouri in the last 4 years. And yeah, as Gene says, let's not mess that one up by losing to Missouri. It was a great win on Saturday night. Do not mess that up. So 803-404-6100, again, how you can be a part of the program. Or, again, you can go to our live stream. Go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, click subscribe, join. Robin, LeVar asking, have y'all seen the SEC short for the week? I did yesterday. Pretty good. Little Justin King shout out on the SEC shorts, as all the teams took to the psychiatrist couch and weighed in with their excitement in South Carolina's case, or their disappointment, as in Texas A&M's case. Pretty good little thing there that they had yesterday. So, again, 803-404-6100. We'll get you some Shane Beamer audio. We'll talk a little bit about the victory. We'll look ahead. We'll start looking ahead to Missouri. J.C. Shurburtt due up here in about 49 minutes at 7 a.m. this morning. So a lot to get to. You're listening to Bill Gunner. He's Ed Bird in the producer studio. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Here's what's coming up on the next Extra Point.
Leggett, a big, strong dude, was able to just kind of run through some tackles there on the edge. And then I thought he had a weird sort of running style to him, and I didn't realize at the time he was doing that with one shoe. So not only had one shoe, but threw up the peace sign on the way by. That was special, and it set the tone for the whole night.
And Shane Beamer said that it was not blocked well, which I'll take his word for it. He knows what should be done there.
Well, maybe they should try not blocking kickoffs well.
Yeah, if
Next
that's not
time, too.
blocking, then
That's what it took.
yeah, how about Bam getting the block there, and then he actually had to put away hit on the QB at the end of the game at the final Hail Mary. So Bam is the closer.
The Extra Point with Pearson, Preston, and Gamecock Central. 9 a.m. to noon on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5. The Game.
Going out and purchasing a vehicle, well, it can be a fun, exciting experience. But if you go to the right dealership, that makes it even better. That's why you should choose Love Chevrolet. Because, again, going and purchasing a vehicle, you've heard me talk about it, it's like bringing a new family member home. You get that car, you get that truck, that SUV. They're going to create memories with you. They're going to take the kids on great vacations. You're going to go to soccer and football and cheer and dance and volleyball, all those great sports. There's going to be a lot of hours spent in that vehicle. So when you go to purchase a new vehicle, you want to purchase from somebody who knows what they're doing, who's knowledgeable, who's ready to help you. And at Love Chevrolet, they've taken care of families just like yours and mine for over 60 years. And I think we both know when you do something for 60 years, you're doing it correctly. And at Love Chevrolet, they've done it correctly for over 60 years. Again, taking care of families right here in the Midlands, just like yours and mine, putting them in that next great vehicle. So go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park. You can visit them on the web, lovechevy.com. You can even speak with a seasoned professional right over the web and pick out that car or truck that you've been looking for. So get out to Love Chevrolet today. Check out the $1,000 low price guarantee, the 14 acres of brand new Chevys, but most importantly, that incredible sales staff that's ready to help you. They're waiting on you today. Go visit Love Chevrolet, I-26 in Harbison between Lowe's and Frankie's Fun Park, or on the web, lovechevy.com. Get out to Love Chevrolet and find new roads.
This is Boomer Esiason with the CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by Cordell and Cordell. So what did we learn from Chicago's surprising 33-14 thrashing of New England last night? 1, Matt Eberflus can hold his own as a rookie head coach for sure. 2, Justin Fields could be Jalen Hurts 2.0. 3, despite his rusty start, Mac Jones is clearly the QB1 for the Pats. I'm Boomer Esiason.
O'Reilly Auto Parts specializes in keeping your car on the road. Not sure how much life is left in your battery? Our professional parts people will test it for free. If it does need to be replaced, we'll help you find just the right one to fit your car. Our Superstar batteries are built to handle even the toughest conditions. Visit O'Reilly Auto Parts today.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Are you ready?
At Lowe's, every pro is an MVP to us. That's why MVP's rewards members can earn bonus points on select products from brands like DeWalt, Purdy paint applicators, and GRK screws. Then redeem your bonus points for exciting rewards like tools, grills, Lowe's gift cards, and more. Join Lowe's MVP's Pro Rewards today to start earning. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts, if any. Subject to program terms. While supplies last. Visit Lowe's.com/MVP's bonus points for details. Now through 10/28.
Sponsored by the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Federal Employee Program.
Here's what's happening on the roads. An accident at Lazy Brook Drive and Chapin Road, and a collision with a deer. Bar Road and Cypress Lake Lane.
At the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Federal Employee Program, they cover more federal employees, retirees, and their families than any other health plan. Now it's time to see what they can do for you. Learn more about healthy benefits at fepblue.org/wecan.
With approved credit, call 888-411-7640 for details. Dodgeland has the largest new 2023 Ram Charger Challenger inventory around. When other dealers are charging thousands over, you save thousands at JT's and get 1.9% financing. Bumps or even craters in your credit? Forget it. When other dealers say no, JT says yes, you're approved. Drive the Ram Charger or Challenger of your dreams. Get 1.9% financing and let JT get you approved. Dodgeland on Greystone, jtsdodge.com. Ram Power Days.
Hey guys, it's me, wrestling legend Ric Flair, and I'm on a mission to help millions of guys put more flair down there with Mount Everest. Unlike generic ED treatment programs that can take up to 60 minutes of work, Mount Everest can have you standing at attention in as little as 5 minutes. You'll have an absolutely mind-blowing experience every time. That's because only Mount Everest offers a unique 3-in-1 custom compounded medication. Mount Everest will make you a kiss-stealing, wheeling-dealing son of a gun like me every night. don't lose another night to ED. Put some flair down there with Mount Everest. Woo!
See if Mount Everest is right for you. Go to joinnuimage.com now and use promo code RADIO to save 20%. That's join, the letters NU, image.com and use promo code RADIO to save 20%. Go to joinnuimage.com and save 20% with promo code RADIO.
Locally owned Atlantic Windows and Doors has been making Columbia area homes more comfortable, attractive, weather-tight, and energy efficient for over 35 years. How? By distributing products from the best window and door manufacturers in the country. These products give you the best looks, the best quality, and the best value, all based on your specific needs. And everything is professionally installed by their dedicated and experienced employees, not subcontractors. Atlantic Windows and Doors. Visit them online at awdsc.com.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. With Bill Gunter and Jen Jensen on your home of the Gamecocks. The Early Game, 107.5 The Game.
803-404-6100 is how you can weigh in. South Carolina coming off of the 30-24 victory over Texas A&M on Saturday night, and we will transition to Missouri today. Shane Beamer will talk at 1:30. You'll be able to hear it right here on 107.5 The Game in Jay and Terry show, so you'll be able to hear that. But let's go back and listen to a little bit more from Shane Beamer on Saturday night following the win. We'll kind of start to put this game to bed and look ahead to Missouri, but let's listen a little bit to what Shane Beamer said. If you hadn't heard the majority of it, here is he speaking after the game on Saturday night about the big win over Texas A&M that moved South Carolina to 5-2.
So heck of a celebration in that locker room, as you guys can imagine. First of all, I want to thank our fans. That environment tonight may have been the greatest I've ever been a part of, starting with the Gamecock Walk, the 2001 Sandstorm, just the advantage that they gave us throughout the night. I told the players at the hotel, we haven't gotten off to good starts here at home, and I don't know if it's because we're caught up in 2001 and Sandstorm and Gamecock Walk, and then we don't get out there and execute like we should. So I told the team at the hotel literally right before we came over here that I understand the crowd's going to be a great advantage for us, but we're not going to win the game because of the crowd. And I may have screwed that up because the noise they created, the false starts they caused. Thank you. That was awesome environment. And I'm so happy for all of Gamecock Nation. It's been a long, however many, 8 years or whatever since we beat those guys. So I want our fans to celebrate the heck out of that one. First of all, tons of respect for A&M and Coach Fisher's team. Obviously, the start for them was not ideal, and they never flinched. Quit yawning, David. It's a hell of a win, man. I'm not putting you to sleep yet, but I'm going to be here for a while. That was a tough start for them, and they just they never flinched, and quarterback made some plays and whatnot, and it was ugly as all get out for us there a lot of the time. But just really, really proud of our players and their fight and the individual plays that a lot of our guys made. Xavier Leggett starting the game, and then the kickoff that he covered at the end of the game and went down there and made a tackle. I mean, Tonka Hemingway just got a game ball in there for the tackle he made on the blocked extra point, which is embarrassing to get an extra point blocked. But Tonka got that guy on the ground and kept it a 2-score game. I mean, if Tonka doesn't tackle him back for 2 points, and all of a sudden they're throwing to the end zone to go to overtime. But just on and on and on with our players, and just so proud of their fight. They never flinch. And it's a really, really special group of kids in that locker room, and really happy for them. It was just a little over a month ago, I sat in here after the Georgia game and got asked, did I sense any quit in this football team? That looked like that team's quit. So since that day, we've won 4 straight for the first time since 2013. We just beat Texas. Who did we beat? Kentucky on the road 2 weeks ago up in Lexington for the first time since 2012, and we just beat Texas A&M for the first time ever So no, that there's no quit in this team. We got a bunch of freaking fighters on this team that love each other and play for one another and care about each other. And it showed out there tonight. As ugly as it was at times, they never flinched and they just kept coming back. And we talked about we're a second half team and we get better as the game goes. And we did. Now, having said that, we got to play and coach a whole lot better because we had plenty of opportunities to really put that game away in a lot of instances, and we didn't get it done. And that's disappointing to not be able to convert a 4th and 1 on that last drive and let them go down the field and get points and have an onside kick, and then they recover the onside kick. So a lot of bad football and some bad coaching by us. We got to be a whole lot better. But, man, to win this one, just so happy for our players and so happy for our fans and ready to get back to work tomorrow. Questions?
Mark took over in the second half there, had the 2 touchdowns. I know you guys were trying to get the ball to him, but just why wasn't it working the first half? And then what was the talk amongst you and Sad about getting him the ball a little bit?
I mean, that's a good defense. I know you guys pay attention to stats and their rushing yards per game weren't all that great. They got a talented defense. Like 17 will be a first-round draft pick at corner. The D-line were 5-star, number 1 in the country players for a reason. I know they were missing a linebacker tonight, but the 2 linebackers, I mean, they're really good defensively. I mean, Alabama had a hard time scoring points on them. And there were some runs that weren't blocked well. There were some blocks we missed on the perimeter in the run game. There were some plays where, maybe we handed it and should have thrown it out on the bubble, or maybe we threw the bubble and should have handed it off. So just a combination of things. And we didn't have a ton of plays in the first half either. But the thing that I told Sat was just in about midway through the third quarter, just get the ball to our best players and let them go make plays. And you saw that with Stogg. You saw that with Marshawn. You saw that with Juice. You saw that with Van. On and on and on. I mean, we got a lot of really good players. Bell. But we didn't really call much different. It was just we had to block it better and execute it better.
Coach, you said after the Kentucky game, maybe in reference to the culture comment, that you look for different ways to get your team motivated. Did you, or to what extent did you use maybe the 0-8 record against Texas A&M as motivation, and how do you feel they, maybe responded to that?
We didn't talk about it much. I mean, I brought it up on Tuesday just because our guys knew, and I didn't want to not avoid it, but I wasn't going to make it a big issue. All week either. We talked about it on Tuesday that it's part of it, but that had nothing to do with this year's game. I mean, we had a bunch of players out there tonight that have never even played Texas A&M. But certainly it was in the back of our guys' minds. And we talked about it at the hotel last night that it's time. It was time to win this thing, to win one of these. And our guys believed that and had great confidence coming into the game and played really, really hard and found a way to win it.
Hey, Coach.
Hey.
Can you just talk a little bit about kind of the emotions that you personally and also kind of the team are going through right now? It feels like after Kentucky, you were a lot more emotional and now you're more kind of fired up. So how do these 2 wins kind of compare for you?
I'm fired up because we got a bunch of kids in that locker room that really, 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 really care, and I'm happy for them. Maybe I'm fired up. I feel like I took 27 years off my life in that game. I mean, God almighty, guys. Every which way, just when you think it's over, it's not. And then you're holding on and they're throwing balls to the end zone. And then we give up an onside kick. And that was a long, stressful night, but really, really, really happy for sure. And just, like I said, proud of these kids.
Shane, a stat probably a lot of people will overlook tonight, but I know you won't, was your punting game. Your punter kicked
Kai Kroger
6
got a
times
game ball in there.
for 49-yard average and flipped the field every time.
He did.
On top of that, you only gave up 14 yards in return yards from punts tonight.
Yeah, he was awesome. He got a game ball as well for that. I mean, it was look, we knew going into this game it was going to be a 4-quarter SEC football game. I mean, this team's really, really good that we just played. And they're playing all these freshmen. They've been beat up, and they continue to get better. So, I mean, we knew it was going to be a battle. And we talked about it on Tuesday in our team meeting that, field position and situational football was going to be really, really key because this is a game where there's not going to be a ton of plays in it. They're not trying to go 100 and run. They're not trying to go fast and run 100 plays. So situational football and field position was going to be really, really key. And Kai was awesome tonight, the way that he was able to flip the field position and then the way we were able to cover kicks against some really, really dangerous returners from Texas A&M on kickoff return and punt return.
That's Shane Beamer. And I like going back and, you remove yourself from the game. A couple of y'all are weighing in on the live stream. I don't know if you had not heard it, or sometimes you get to hear it and that's not the entire Shane Beamer press conference. Obviously, there's more to it, but I like to go back on Tuesdays now that you've had time to process the victory, maybe listen to this station for a day, talk with your buddies around the water cooler or whatever, and kind of re-listen to what he's got to say. And a couple of y'all, Craig weighing in on the live stream saying feisty Beamer. I like it from him early on in that press conference, basically saying, hey, we got asked a question about us quitting after the Georgia game. Don't have any quitters in that locker room over there. And kind of, as RL says, Shane Beamer keeps the receipts on some of those. So yeah, it's always entertaining for me to go back as you transition out of a football game and look ahead toward the next one, and kind of re-listen to what a coach has to say and reanalyze it, and just think back toward what that particular game, in this case Texas A&M, was like. We'll kind of put that to bed in the next segment. We'll start to look ahead toward Missouri. Again, get into some NFL news and notes. Matt Ryan is heading to the bench in Indianapolis. And last night, the New England Patriots have possibly created quite a quarterback controversy up there as they look for their next Tom Brady. We got a lot to get to this morning. You're listening to Bill Gunner, Mr. Producer Ed Bird. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
The OGs of 107.5 The Game.
Jay Phillips, Heath Klein, and Tommy Mooney.
Sharing their memories of 107.5 The Game and celebrating our 15th anniversary.
Sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
Just download the 107.5 The Game app or go to 1075thegame.com to check out the podcast.
On your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game and the new 107.5 The Game app.
Hey, South Carolina, Scott here from Traditions with good news if you're in the market for an engagement ring or for diamond jewelry, because we have the largest selection you'll see anywhere in the Southeast. And whether you're in the market for a traditional mine diamond,
there we go.
Today comes, if you want an even bigger diamond, we'll be happy to give you full value and pay for your original when you trade it in. Even better, we have over 1,000 diamond rings in stock, so you'll get to try on pretty much every style imaginable. And if you still don't see exactly the right design, we'll be glad to custom make it for you. And yes, we have interest-free financing for qualified buyers. Some deals, you get the ring of your dreams, the diamond of your choice, only at Traditions Fine South Carolina Diamond customization destination on Sunset and Lexington.
Let's see here.
JT Jeep Ram has the largest inventory around. When other dealers are charging thousands over, you save thousands at JT and get 0.9% finance bumps or even craters in your credit. Forget it. When other dealers say no, JT says yes, you're approved. Drive the 2023 Ram or Jeep of your dreams. Get 0.9% finance and let JT get you approved. JT's Jeep Ram Lexington. JT'sJeep.com. Ram Howard.
So many people here are getting real lasting joint pain relief from QC Kinetics.
Line is down to 4.5 in one place. That was the one place here. FanDuel's got, I think, Carolina at 4.5. I was just looking to see this morning if there was an update overnight. Looks like FanDuel has. Whew, Georgia's up to 22.5. Yeah, FanDuel's got it at 4.5. So.
And don't let them tell you surgery is your only option. Learn more about regenerative options from the local medical professionals at QC Kinetics. Call now for your free consultation.
Call QC Kinetics, 803-281-6860. That's 803-281-6860. 803-281-6860.
Yeah, that's Larry. That's what I always say. And Jen should be a very happy lady this morning. I guess I need to check on her. But yeah, she should be very happy up there. It's Kornblut. And it was actually a legitimate question at the time in the Georgia game. Like, I didn't think it was that bad of a question. I mean, you're getting blown out at home. You know, he didn't ask if they quit for the season. It was just, you know, what fourth quarter and what they were down 41-0, 42-7. I don't know. Yeah, and all it was did you sense any quit in your team? He wasn't accusing the team of quitting. He was asking. But it was corn blue. And it was legitimate. It was a good question.
But if you've got an insurance question, you can always count on
Yeah. To your point, they're happy. Or what is it? Missouri, DC, both of y'all. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, Missouri's 13th in the league in offense. The only team below Missouri is Texas A&M. No, he doesn't like negative. But again, it was a legit question. At the time, it was a legit question. Coming up in the 7 o'clock hour, we'll give you a chance to win a pair of tickets to Saturday afternoon's ball game at Williams-Brice Stadium. It is the Carolina Honda Powerhouse ticket giveaway, sponsored by Carolina Honda Powerhouse, your source for your Honda power sports needs. That'll come up about 7:30 so about an hour from now. We'll give you a chance to win yourself a pair of tickets to go see the Gamecocks take on the Tigers Saturday afternoon over at Williams-Brice Stadium, 4 o'clock kickoff time there for South Carolina, Missouri. And again, later today at 1:30, you'll be able to hear Shane Beamer start to preview that and talk a little bit about that game coming up on Saturday afternoon. Should be a pretty entertaining game there. Again, I was just looking at the point spread, seeing if there was any movement overnight. It's about 5. FanDuel has it down to 4.5. And again, one of the big things that I'm interested to see is how does this team truly handle success? They're going to go all week hearing a lot of based on most of the phone calls and text messages. So they're going to hear a lot of great things about themselves. Some people are probably not going to hear positive things about themselves if they tune in, but by and large, there's going to be a lot of positive reaction. They're going to see their name in the top 25. How do they come out and handle that? And it's a big step for this program on our live stream. Let's see here. DC weighs in and says, this season, Missouri is the must-win game. After beating Kentucky and A&M, my thoughts haven't changed. Next year, that must-win game will be Kentucky. Well, one of the reasons, I don't know if I'd go that far as it pertains to Kentucky being a must-win because of when it is next year. It's the week before the Clemson game. But with that being said, I did circle this Missouri game. If you go back to August, go back to July, as we're starting to break everything down, preview the season, talk about what's important, try and figure out records for those of you who are not predicting 12-0. One thing is we did circle this Missouri game because, you looked at the 3 other SEC games, not including Georgia, and you tried to figure out, okay, where would South Carolina exactly be at this point in time? Could they pull off a victory against an Arkansas on the road, against a Kentucky on the road, or against a Texas A&M? There's a lot of people that, obviously looked at it and thought, probably 4-0. This will be the first chance South Carolina has to get a victory in SEC play. Well, now South Carolina sits here at 2-2. This is a chance now to move ahead of the curve, get to 3-2 in conference to become bowl eligible before the end of October. That's a pretty cool thing there for South Carolina to have. So the Missouri game, I think it does become more important now because of what is at stake. But I think it was important, and I'm kind of with RL or DC on this, in the fact that at the beginning of the season, we looked at this game and you figured what the importance of it would be in terms of the season and just trying to get bowl eligible. I don't know if anybody, I'm sure there's some of you out there who are ultra positive, but I don't know how many people actually looked at South Carolina thinking, yeah, they'd legitimately be 5-2 at this point in the season. But here they are, and a great opportunity for them on Saturday night. And Missouri comes in 13th in the league in total offense. The only team below them is Texas A&M. Missouri averages 365 yards per game. They are, in terms of rushing yards per game, averaging 155 yards per game, 208 yards through the air. So this is a team that, again, South Carolina should be able to limit on the ground. The Gamecock run defense playing much better there in the second half against Texas A&M. That defensive line, we talked a lot about it yesterday. Zach Pickens being able to step up and make some really strong plays there on the interior. The incredible play of Tonka Hemingway, who really seems to be coming into his own. Boogie Huntley should be a little bit healthier this week. And then I think you're getting better production from Jordan Birch, and I think Gilbert Edmond has been coming on as well. So that front group there of linemen, and I leave out MJ Webb, but that front group of linemen has played better against Kentucky. I know Chris Rodriguez. Remember, Chris Rodriguez had 100 yards in the first half against South Carolina and was limited in the second half. A-Chain had 100 yards in the first half and finished with 99. So the run defense in the second half by Clayton White, the changes he's made at halftime have been pretty substantial. And now you get a Missouri team who's 9th in the league in running the football, again, 155 yards per game. South Carolina is 10th, just below them at 141 yards per game. But you count on that defense. And I think that's Saturday what South Carolina relies on, or will have to rely on, is that defense coming out. Again, I think the offense is what they are. 20 games into the Marcus Satterfield era, they are what they are. They kind of make some things happen. It gets clunky at times. Then all of a sudden they fall into a groove where they realize Marshawn Lloyd is a guy that they should give the ball to, and all of a sudden things start picking up a little bit, and the next thing you know, the offense is down there scoring a touchdown, and then they go back to kind of throwing darts at a dartboard. But we'll see exactly how this Missouri team plays. I've watched them multiple times this year. I'm not all that impressed with them. I saw them against Auburn. Auburn wasn't that good. I don't know if Georgia really showed up to play Missouri. I think Georgia sleptwalked through that game and found themselves down 10 there late in the fourth quarter. But this is not a Missouri team that is, to me, particularly impressive. And multiple times that I've seen them, again, they come off that 17-14 victory over Vanderbilt this past weekend. And we've had Brad Crawford on in the past, and Brad Crawford even alluded to in the preseason the fact that, this Missouri team could very likely show up here, and Eli Drinkowitz, if he were to lose this game, would move himself more to the hot seat. They are 3-4 on the season. Brady Cook will come in here, 6 touchdown passes, 7 interceptions on the season. He's thrown for just over 1,400 yards and completes 65% of his passes. Nathaniel Pete, the running back, they employ 2 different running backs there, Cody Schrader, the other one. But Nathaniel Pete, the leading rusher for the Tigers, he's had 87 carries on the season for 387 yards and 2 touchdowns. Schrader with 68 carries for 363 yards and 4 touchdowns. Brady Cook actually is the 3rd leading rusher on the team. He will keep the ball and run with it occasionally. 65 carries this season, 2 touchdowns. So again, the games that I've watched Missouri play, I haven't come away very impressed with what I've seen. This is a game that South Carolina should be able to win at home. Again, on our text line, 803-404-6100, Gene weighs in and says, I wish Missouri was a night game. Certainly after what you saw with the crowd and the environment and the lights and the towels and sandstorm and, everything that goes into that, yes, you do wish it was a night game. South Carolina, certainly the fans give Williams-Brice Stadium a whole new atmosphere. But 4 o'clock in the afternoon, South Carolina should have a pretty doggone good environment there for that. The fans have plenty of time to get out and do their tailgating thing and be ready to go. So we'll talk more about this. J.C. Shurburtt set to join us in about 19 minutes, and we'll get his take on the Texas A&M game, and we'll look ahead to Missouri as well. If you want to weigh in, 803-404-6100. CD weighs in and says consistency is the key, and the offensive coordinator by committee. CD Gamecock, have a great day. So appreciate him texting in. Again, 803-404-6100. You're listening to Bill Gunner. He's Ed Bird. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Keep up with our 15th anniversary podcast
by downloading our 1075 The Game app.
or at 1075thegame.com.
Sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
1075 The Game.
Halloween is less than a week away. And not only that, matter of fact, this weekend, I guess the trick-or-treating thing happens this weekend. It's what happens when you turn 40. You don't really know when people trick-or-treat anymore. But one thing you might be planning is a little Halloween party of your own. You want it to be spooky. You want it to be a little scary. You don't want people terrified, though, of your carpet, of your rugs, of your tile. If it's looking dirty, you don't want people terrified of that. You want a nice, clean home. You want the decorations to be spooky, not the home itself. And if you've got some dirty, dingy carpet, it's time to call Zero Res. With over 1,900 Google reviews and a 4.9 star rating, Zero Res Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning is the most highly reviewed cleaning company in the Midlands. And right now, you can take advantage of their fall sale going on. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $119. You just need to mention me, Bill Gunner, at 1075 The Game. You can give them a phone call, 803-262-4020, or you can get in touch with them via the internet. You can schedule with these online. ZeroResColumbia.com is the way to do that. Again, take advantage of the fall sale going on right now. Get 3 rooms of carpet cleaned for only $119 when you mention me, Bill Gunner, at 1075 The Game. Again, that's 803-262-4020, or you can schedule with ease online, ZeroResColumbia.com. Zero, spell it backwards or forwards. It's the right way to clean.
Sponsored by Capital Palmetto Builders.
An accident at Percival at Clemson, a deer crash at South Carolina 261, right at US 76, US 378, and an accident at Broad River and Valentine Crossing Lane.
Uh-oh. That little leak could be a big problem. Capital Palmetto Builders has 22 years of experience in roofing repair.
I sent out the game notes. I thought. There we go.
Shooter's Choice in West Columbia is the place for you. Shooter's Choice has all you need for dove and deer season. Check out their great selection of hunting rifles, ARs, and much more. Plus top-end accessories to complement your purchase. Make this the best hunting season ever with Shooter's Choice. Make it your first choice, your best choice. Shooter's Choice.
Here at Total Wine and More, you'll love what you find this Halloween. Oh, hey, Frankenstein. Did you enjoy that Cabernet?
Good. What margarita?
Well, the villagers are raving about this tequila. And we have it at the lowest price. Find what you love what you buy, with the total lowest prices for Halloween. Only at Total Wine and More. Drink responsibly, B21.
Hello, this is Joe Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is a firm that practices family law exclusively. We focus on only one area of the law to maximize our strength and effectiveness as advocates for clients that have everything on the line. Their homes, retirement, savings, and most importantly, their children. We're the partner our clients count on. If we can be of help to you, give us a call.
Online at CordellCordell.com. 1201 Main Street, Suite 840, Columbia, South Carolina, 29201. Joseph Cordell, licensed in Missouri and Illinois. The wait is over. New Chevys are on the lot now, and more are on the way to Herndon Chevrolet. These vehicles are in demand and selling fast, so don't miss out. Stop by.
Get the see if I can get the Missouri game notes up here. Happy Tuesday. Hope you're doing well. There we go. Missouri game notes.
This update is sponsored by AAA Heating and Air, home of the $1,500 buyback. AAA Heating and Air must clear out its warehouse before new government efficiency regulations go into effect in 2023. No deals will be turned down. Call today to get a new unit tomorrow.
Fire truck going by.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game. Stop by, shop online today, and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. The early game.
With Bill Gunter and Jen Jensen.
on your home of the Gamecocks, the early game.
803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in this morning. Again, I mentioned last night in the NFL, the Chicago Bears, they tear apart the New England Patriots, and the New England Patriots continue to look for their next Tom Brady. The Bears last night, 3 interceptions in that ball game. The Patriots trying to find a quarterback. You heard me kind of mention it. Mac Jones last night got the start, just 3 of 6 for 13 yards, and he threw one to the Bears. And so Bailey Zappi entered for the Patriots, and he was 14 of 22 for 185 yards. He threw a touchdown. Looked like maybe he was going to be the answer. Maybe he'd be the guy that would get things going. Then he threw 2 interceptions. Justin Fields last night was good enough, I reckon, if you want to go down that path. 13 of 21, 179 yards, a touchdown and an interception. He did run the ball very efficiently. 14 carries for Fields last night for 82 yards. But New England right now drops to 3-4 on the season. The Bears 3-4 as well. It was an interesting week in the NFL. Who had on their bingo card the Carolina Panthers knocking off the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? The final year of the Tom Brady, what I'm going to assume is Tom Brady's final year, I should say. We probably nothing set in stone on that, but certainly the tea leaves seem to suggest that Tom Brady is heading for his final season here and that he will ride off into the sunset. But the final season not going the way it was planned. 3-4 on the season for the Bucs. And that's a team right now that I'm not even sure is going to be able to make the playoffs. Brady's having a decent season. He's not, he needs more help around him. Brady's thrown for 1,900 yards. He has 8 touchdowns. He's thrown just 1 interception on the season, but he's not getting a ton of help. And right now his defense has kind of been letting him down as well. They gave up 41 in that loss to Kansas City back at the beginning of October. So it's been a little bit of a tough month for Tom Brady. Another older quarterback that is experiencing a little bit of a difficult time is Matt Ryan. The Colts benching him and will go with Sam Ehlinger right now. They're saying that they will go the rest of the way with him. We'll kind of see if that actually comes to fruition. But Indianapolis promoting Sam Ehlinger to starting quarterback for their game against Patrick Brett's Washington Commanders this coming Sunday. Matt Ryan did suffer a grade 2 shoulder separation against the Titans this past weekend, and Ryan not expected to play or practice because of the injury. But Indianapolis's offensive woes, they've been a major reason why the Colts are struggling right now. Matt Ryan on the season. Matt Ryan, I didn't think that this would work very well with him going to Indianapolis, but on the season, he has thrown for over 2,000 yards. He's also thrown 9 interceptions. He's thrown 9 touchdowns. That's good, but 9 interceptions is not really the number you want to have there. And again, he's out right now with a shoulder sprain, a shoulder sprain on his throwing shoulder, which obviously makes it a little bit more difficult. But you look at what he did this past weekend. They took on Tennessee, and they lost 19-10, but he was 33 of 44 for 243, and he threw 2 interceptions in that game. So some NFL news and notes there as we kind of get you up and get you going again. The Panthers, who are 2-5 on the season, that had to go down as one of the bigger surprises of the weekend to see the Panthers roll over Tampa Bay, who could only put up 3 points in their loss again to the Panthers, 21-3. So you got some quarterback issues there in the NFL right now. Tom Brady at least throwing it to the right team. Matt Ryan throwing it to the wrong team, but he's out with a shoulder injury. And again, the New England Patriots just trying to find a quarterback, pretty much anybody that can throw the ball to the right team and lead them to victory. 803-404-6100, how you can weigh in. Coming up in about 10 minutes, we'll be joined by J.C. Shurburtt. We'll recap South Carolina's 30-24 victory over Texas A&M that moved South Carolina to 5-2 on the season. And we'll look ahead to, let's play this real quick little game. 803-404-6100. What is the name of the trophy that it will be played for this coming weekend? Did you even know there was a trophy? You can answer both of those. Just the name of it, and did you even know that there was a trophy. Do some of y'all even pay attention to these these made up for no reason whatsoever because it's Columbia, Missouri, and Columbia, South Carolina? 803-404-6100. Can you name the trophy that will be played for this coming weekend between South Carolina and Texas A&M? Can you do it without looking it up? Again, it will be homecoming weekend for South Carolina, and the Gamecocks will actually do their or induct their Hall of Fame class for 2022 this weekend. Former football player Corey Miller, former baseball player Matt Price, and former football player and wrestler Dale Wilkes will all be inducted, along with Laura Bernstein, Joyce Compton, Lashinda Demas, and I hate this. I didn't want to really go down this path because there's a name in men's track and field. Somebody from men's track and field will also be inducted, and then Blakely Mattern from women's soccer. Hopefully I got some of those correct. The answer to that question that I just asked was we were looking for is the Mayor's Cup. The Mayor's Cup, if you had a chance to get that. DC gets it correct. Larry says the Governor Cup. It's not the Governor's Cup. It's the Mayor's Cup. There you go. See, some made up stuff there. If you wanted to be aware that there is a Mayor's Cup on the line this weekend between the Gamecocks and the Tigers here in Columbia. So Steven says, "Oh, come on, try for that." I really can't. I don't even know how to pronounce it correctly. That'll be a Tommy Moody special there on the Tommy Moody Show. So the Mayor's Cup will take place this weekend here in Columbia as South Carolina and Missouri get together. Missouri again has won the last 3 games. They have a 7-5 advantage in the all-time series. I didn't know this. The home team has been victorious in 3 of the 5 games played in its stadium. And there was the 2 neutral site games between these 2 teams. You had the game that took place in 2005 in the Independence Bowl that Brad Smith, the quarterback from Missouri, led the Tigers back. South Carolina got out to that huge lead. Blake Mitchell was playing really well. Sidney Rice was making some catches. The initial Mike Davis 1.0 was playing fairly well, and then South Carolina threw a pick 6, and the momentum changed, and what you ended up having was Missouri rally to win that game 38-31, and then they also played in the 1979 Hall of Fame Bowl there if you had that one. So a few stats for you this morning. One key that we'll talk with J.C. Shurburtt about, and again, I brought this up, Missouri 9th in the league in rushing, will be for South Carolina to stop the run this weekend. Last year it was Tyler Beatty who ran for 209 yards against the Gamecocks and really kind of took charge in the fourth quarter. South Carolina's done a better job in the second half, especially the last 2 games against Chris Rodriguez and A-Chain this past weekend for Texas A&M, of making adjustments and stopping the run in the second half. And South Carolina will need to do that again this coming weekend. Missouri's averaging 4.1 yards per game on the ground, or 4.1 yards per carry, I should say, per game. And it'll be on South Carolina and that defensive line and those linebackers. Brad Johnson playing a little bit better, and he is much better against the run than he is against the pass. Sherrod Green has been playing better. And again, you heard Shane Beamer talking a lot about Zach Pickens in the game on Saturday night. And even though statistically speaking, if you just looked at the box score, you'd go, I don't know if Pickens played all that well. Well, he did. He created a lot of issues in the interior of the Texas A&M defensive line. Certainly the crowd was a big factor when you get 8 false starts, but the way the defensive line played, keeping Texas A&M off balance, they'll need to have that performance again because South Carolina has to stop the run on Saturday night. Again, Missouri comes in okay running the football, 9th in the league. South Carolina's 10th in the league, but they do it kind of by committee, a 3-person kind of committee here of Nathaniel Pete and Corey Schrader at the running back, and then Brady Cook, not afraid to keep it on a quarterback keeper and take off around the end. Again, he's got 65 carries for 162 yards and 2 touchdowns. So South Carolina will have to keep an eye on him as the game goes along. Coming up next, J.C. Shurburtt will join us. We'll get his take on this coming weekend, as well as looking back at the Texas A&M game. You're listening to Bill Gunner. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Gamecocks, Braves, the NFL
with live local radio.
107.5 The Game, WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia.
A Cumulus media station.
This football season, in every football season, come to campus and catch a game. Whatever the game, whoever you're with, just catch a game. Find your tickets.
JT get you approved. JT's Cheap Ram Lexington. JT'sCheap.com. Oh, yeah. You got to call. All right. You can. Yeah. Hey, Gamecock fans, this is William Blanchard, reporting for the Rookies. With my race, providing better than expected clinical service to our clients in the Midlands of South Carolina. In 2014, I joined them. Since then, her team consistently been recognized as the #1 home bank of realty small teams in the Carolinas. But if you want honesty, integrity, and results backed by experience in buying and selling real estate, call the Hood Team at 803-730-2512 or online at hoodteam.com.
Here at Total Wine and More, you'll love what you find at Halloween. Oh, hey, Frankenstein. Did you enjoy that Cabernet?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a game the defense should play much better.
Hello, this is Bill Cordell. Cordell & Cordell is a firm that practices family law exclusively. We focus on only one area of the law to maximize our strength and effectiveness as advocates for clients that have everything on the line: their homes, retirement, savings, and most importantly, their children. We're the partner our clients count on. If we can be of help to you, give us a call.
Online at CordellCordell.com. 1201 Main Street, Suite 840.
Man.
We will never charge you up MSRP or take advantage of you with add-ons. I-26 at Harvester and at LoveChevy.com. Find new roads.
I think I've got you set up over there, Coach. You might have some headphones, you might not. I'm not sure. Apologize. Got a lot of I am trying to fight this iPad so we can put them on the live stream as well. But
basically well-oiled machine. You're right on top of things. You've
this iPad has dominated me this morning. Like it has been.
All right.
This iPad. We'll see if I got it on your home of the game, guys.
Is I have no clue.
107.5.
If you say I have no clue, this means I don't know. In fact, I don't even have any idea.
The Game.
Feel like we educated some people in that first hour because a couple of you weighing in when I asked what is the name of the trophy that South Carolina and Missouri will play for on Saturday afternoon. We got the co-pilot saying the Capitol Trophy. Nope, that's incorrect. And then we had a couple of y'all weighing in with the Governor's Trophy or the Governor's Cup. Nope, that's incorrect as well. It's the Mayor's Cup. So there you go. You can maybe earn yourself a free lunch today if you want to challenge one of your coworkers to that little quiz and bet them a free lunch or a lunch somewhere, and you can Just tell them you got that knowledge right here on 107.5 The Game on the early game. Want to remind you, coming up in about 29 minutes, I'll give you a chance to win a pair of tickets to the Missouri-South Carolina game Saturday afternoon, 4 o'clock. It is the Carolina Honda Powerhouse ticket giveaway. Visit them on the web, carolinahondapowerhouse.com. Again, we'll give you a pair of tickets to that. And also want to remind you, coming up on Saturday, we'll get you ready for the game starting at 11 a.m. You can hear Heath Klein and Terry Ford. It is the local Gamecock Game Day pregame show, again, starting at 11. And the network pregame show will get going at 1 o'clock. So we'll have plenty of coverage for you as we get ready to see if South Carolina can become bowl eligible. And joining me now to look back at a first-time ever event, J.C. Shurburtt, South Carolina finally finds a way to knock off Texas A&M. It was exciting at times, head-scratching at times, and in the end, though, we all hugged and kissed the one we love, as Charlie Mack used to say.
Did you put a Garnet 6 on it?
Hey, that's how they started the game. Garnet 6 right down the sideline.
Put a Garnet 6 on it. Anyway, a big win for the program, I think. Just sort of a showcase game, everything from, the way the lights look with the fair in the background. I mean, the optics for that game were off the chain. I thought South Carolina's defense did not relent. They showed up to play, showed up the dogs. Obviously special teams started off with a bang yet again. Sometimes, Steve Spurrier used to say that, sometimes that team that returns the opening kickoff doesn't necessarily win. And I remember two Florida games where it happened. The first one was Ohio State, Florida. I think Ted Ginn, the national title game, returned the opening kickoff and ended up being 7-0 and for Ohio State, and they ended up losing 41-14. And then in the Swamp in 2010, the Gators returned the kickoff for a touchdown. The Gamecocks ended up winning 36-14. But when it's happened around here, and it's been, Debo Samuel did it twice, Gamecocks have not always looked pretty. In fact, I think they got outgained against NC State by about 300 yards that year, and then but still won, and then won a shootout come from behind game in Oxford to beat Ole Miss that year. So it's worked out well for the Gamecocks. And certainly happy for Xavier Leggett. He hasn't gotten a lot of balls caught this year at receiver and all that, but he's busting his butt on special teams. And I think that's a sign of this team, Bill, just kind of the togetherness they play with. On the show we were talking yesterday that about the culture. Some people, Mark Stoops had his comment about culture or whatever. That's something Shane Beamer's preached since he's been here. There's some sports writers out there that I'm convinced hate coaches, and so they kind of make fun of that term, but it's true and it works. I mean, when you have that ability to go out and overcome and to beat back an opponent, that comes back on you, and then to never relinquish an early lead, that means that takes a commitment. That takes a certain culture to kind of ignore that. Here we go again, and I think everybody in the stadium, fans included, had that belief on Saturday night. And I think that's why we love college football, because there's just some times when you can just feel it happening. Although I think that it did cross my mind and a lot of others at the end, like what if they throw a Hail Mary and win this game? When all is said and done, I don't know that anybody was like, super nervous about losing it outside of a few people who, probably are nervous about everything.
I'm going to throw another one just real quick on that, go back all the way to the kickoff thing. That happened another time 13 years ago where the opposing team ran the kickback and South Carolina won the game. Can you name that game?
That's Clemson in 2009.
That's
CJ
right.
Spiller.
CJ Spiller. Actually,
Spurrier, Spurrier, they didn't have very many kickoff returns for touchdowns under Spurrier. I think they may not have had any.
Honestly, ought to ask Shane about that, because I think there's a funny story about. I think I've heard Shane tell that about Spurrier basically saying, "Do not kick it." If you remember on that play, South Carolina kicked it deep to CJ Spiller initially, went down and tackled him. But there was
There's
a
a
flag.
penalty.
There was they had to kick again, and Spiller ran it all the way back. And I think Spurrier. I think I've heard Shane tell that story that Spurrier was none too pleased with the decision to try and kick it to Spiller again. But yeah,
Don't
because
kick it down.
yeah,
Don't shoot.
I said it yesterday. I said maybe I should be I'm pessimistic. I guess that we ran when Carolina ran the kickback Saturday night. I went, uh-oh. I was thinking the same thing you did. I said, man, this never goes well. And on the show, I said, well, maybe when South Carolina runs the kickback, Debo, as you just said, they've succeeded. They've had success.
The last time I remember Carolina, and there's probably a game I'm forgetting in there somewhere. They got really shellacked when the other team returned the opening kickoff. Was Mississippi State in '98, 38-0.
Yeah,
that was sort of the end of the Brad Scott era. And Mississippi State won their division that year. I remember they took the opening back. But what has happened to Carolina both ways, I guess, in my recent memory, things have turned out well because the Gamecocks beat NC State that year. They beat Ole Miss the next year out in Oxford, and they won the game Saturday night. Then you mentioned the Spiller play, and I mentioned the DeBose play the following year. 2 massive wins. A lot of these are big wins, for Carolina. So, I think, if you look at the reverse, scoring on the first play maybe doesn't always work out. If you think about the Kentucky game under Muschamp, and then in 2019 when the Gamecocks went to Tennessee, Shi Smith called a pass on the first play and scored, but those games didn't turn out that well. So maybe kicks are fine and scores are not.
We'll continue to analyze as seasons go on. Back to the initial point, though, is the importance of this win. And you and I, we've covered recruiting. We've talked to recruits in the past. No recruit has ever said, well, yeah, they won, but that other team wasn't very good or they're having issues. As you mentioned, and speak to this point, South Carolina had a loaded 2024 list of visitors, 8 top 100 players from the 24/7 Sports top 247, 8 top 100 players, including the number 3 player in KJ Bolden. That's the kind of game, much like Georgia in 2012, kind of got the ball rolling with some really good recruiting classes because of the environment. That kind of environment is, again, something that creates momentum on the recruiting trail.
Yeah, look, A&M throws that Hail Mary and wins. It doesn't impact recruiting. I say this all the time. Recruits are not fans. It's always a good sign when they're up there cheering for your team, though, and engaged in the game. But they're not going to sit there and make a decision based on a win or a loss. What they do care about is the environment they're going to play in and the relationships they build. It all funnels into what I call comfort level. And that's what 99.8% of recruiting decisions are based on. Now, people say, well, then if they like this staff the best, why do they go here? Well, that other school may be winning, or they may have a better fit on one side of the ball, the other for this particular athlete, or they may have the academic program they want, or, they may just, worry that the staff's going to get fired if they're losing. So it's not always all about who you like the best in those relationships. It all kind of goes into the funnel decision, so to speak, and atmosphere certainly plays a big part of it. I mean, I wrote today on the site, Williams-Brice Stadium with the new lights and sound and all that, it looks like a rock concert almost, when it really gets going, especially at night. Shane Beamer is now 9-3 at home. He's 7-2 at home at night. Clemson and Kentucky got him last year. But the fans have come back. I mean, you look, it's packed. It wasn't always packed the last however many years. So I think everybody involved, as Nick Saban likes to say, the organization is doing their part. Also, here's another thing I thought about today. There's 5 coaches in college football coaching right now that have won national titles. In his last 8 games, Shane Beamer's beaten 2 of them, Jimbo Fisher and Mac Brown. So that's another little feather in the cap of Shane while we're sitting here giving out accolades.
No, it's certainly, again, the progress of the program. We'll talk a little bit about what Saturday night meant to get your take on not just winning for 2022, but continuing forward and what becoming bowl eligible would mean this coming weekend. It would be the first time since 2013 that South Carolina would in the month of October being bowl eligible. I'll get your take on that. We'll continue talking a little recruiting, kind of what you heard or what you may know. Some really good visitors on campus on Saturday night, especially in the 2024 class. And there was a surprise. I had to go back and reread it, but a surprise offensive line visitor that we'll talk a little bit about, who's in the 2023 class as well. Big-time offensive line visitor that took a visit. We'll talk about that. We'll see if Red wants to weigh in a little bit more there in the background. Lot to do this morning. JC Shurburtt, Red the Dog, Bill Gunner, producer Ed Bird. We got a full house going here. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Here's what's coming up
On the next Extra Point.
Leggett, a big, strong dude, was able to just kind of run through some tackles there on the edge. And then I thought he had a weird sort of running style to him, and I didn't realize at the time he was doing that with one shoe. So not only had one shoe, but threw up the peace sign on the way by. That was special, and it set the tone for the whole night.
And Shane Beamer said that it was not blocked well, which I'll take his word for it. He knows what should be done there.
Well, maybe they should try not blocking kickoffs well.
Yeah, if that's not blocking, then
that's what it took.
Yeah, how about Bam getting the block there, and then he actually had to put away hit on the QB at the end of the game at the final Hail Mary. So Bam is the closer.
The Extra Point.
With Pearson, Preston, and Gamecock Central.
9 a.m. to noon.
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
If you are sick and tired of living with constant pain in your knees and your back, things that are taking away from your everyday life, just being able to go out and enjoy maybe an evening walk with your significant other. Maybe you haven't been able to get out in the yard and throw the football or shoot hoops with the kids, or maybe you just want to be able to go to work and just enjoy a day without pain in your joints. It's time to call QC Kinetics. It's an all-natural treatment that can get you lasting relief, and the people at QC Kinetics are waiting for you to call so you can get a free consultation. 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860. You can learn all about these exciting new cutting-edge treatments for pain. So if you've had issues with arthritis, if you got bone-on-bone type arthritis, you think that, man, I got to have surgery, or I'm going to have painful steroid shots or take addictive medications, it's not the case. You can actually get lasting, real relief with QC Kinetics. Find out what I'm talking about by calling them. Get a free consultation. 803-281-6860. Again, that's 803-281-6860. Appointments are available for the coming week. You need to make one. Get yourself back to living the life you want to live. 803-281-6860. That's QC Kinetics.
This is Boomer Science with the CBS Sports Minute, sponsored by Big Green Egg. Shop online for free home delivery at biggreenegg.com. Today is Brittany Griner's scheduled court appeal in Russia. The WNBA superstar has been sentenced to 9 years in a Russian penal colony for possessing vape cartridges containing hashish oil. Realistically, it will take a political hostage exchange to free her. I'm Boomer Science.
Hey, Jim Rome here. If you want to experience the unmatched flavor of natural live fire grilling,
Big Green Egg Grill, backed by a free lifetime warranty. Yes, lifetime. Is that good? Grill, roast, smoke, or bake. It is easy to light. It's simple to use. Shop online for free home delivery at biggreenegg.com. That's delivery to your door by a dealer in your community. Go to biggreenegg.com. Oh, you ready?
At Lowe's, every pro is an MVP to us. That's why MVP's rewards members can earn bonus points on select products from brands like DeWalt, Purdy Paint Applicators, and GRK Screws. Then redeem your bonus points for exciting rewards like tools, grills, Lowe's gift cards, and more. Join Lowe's MVP's Pro Rewards today and start earning. Bonus points calculated before taxes and fees after applicable discounts and pending, subject to program terms. While supplies last. Visit Lowe's.com/MVP's bonus points for details. Now to 1028.
Sponsored by Mucinex, Fast Max Cold and Flu all in one. Here's the symptom, not the celebration.
An accident with injuries hard scramble at Clemson. An accident at Broad River near I-26. Also a disabled vehicle, 26 westbound at Bush River, exit 108A.
Celebrate comeback season with Mucinex Fast Max Cold and Flu all in one. Its maximum strength formula tackles up to 9 cold and flu symptoms. Try Mucinex all in one and get $5 cash back to celebrate your comeback. Visit fastmaxcashback.com to learn more.
Hey, if you've got a hole in your roof or you need a whole new roof, you need to call Mid-State Roofing, 356-1919. For nearly a quarter of a century, Mid-State Roofing has established its reputation as the leader in the roofing industry. Whether it's above your head or at your feet, perhaps a leaky foundation, 356-1919 is the number to call for all your roofing and waterproofing needs. The quality and craftsmanship of a Mid-State roofing system are tops in the industry, especially commercial and industrial roofing systems. If you own or you're in charge of a large building, warehouse, or industrial facility, then you're in charge of that roof. And at some point, a roof is going to need some attention. So the number to call for advice, service, results, and a commitment to customer satisfaction is 356-1919. See all that Midstate has to offer when you click on midstateroofing.com. Tell them Midstate Twins.
If you have a leak, let Mid-State Roofing take a peek.
356-1919, midstateroofing.com.
If you have an IRS problem, getting accurate legal advice could help get all this behind you right now. Hi, I'm local attorney John Ecton with the Ecton Law Firm. To get the best results for our clients, we stay on top of the law and the IRS rules and regulations. It's important to us to get you back on track and in compliance legally without worry for your future. At the Ecton Law Firm, we've handled hundreds of cases for everyday hardworking people like you right here in the Carolinas. Don't face the IRS alone. Know your legal rights. Call me to set up your appointment. First visit is completely free and confidential. You'll meet with a licensed attorney in person at our office in Irmo, just off I-26. If you're facing IRS wage levies, bank levies, or tax liens, call me, John Ecton, at 803-771-9800. That's 803-771-9800. Or go to EctonLawFirm.com. Carolinas, if you have an IRS issue, you need a local attorney. You need me, John Ecton.
Mix a little sports analysis, pop culture, and great interviews. You've got the Rich Eisen Show podcast. Kansas City Chiefs quarterback Patrick Mahomes.
You've won this division 6 times in a row. This would be 7th. What would this one mean, though?
I think it'd be special just because, obviously the teams are great. All our teams in our division are great football teams that can win each and every week. But just to have some new guys and kind of integrate them into the culture that we have here in Kansas City, you can see they're really buying in.
The Rich Eisen Show podcast, wherever you listen.
This update is sponsored by AAA Heating and Air, home of the $1,500 buyback. AAA Heating and Air must clear out its warehouse before new government efficiency regulations go into effect in 2023. No deals will be turned down. Call today to get a new unit tomorrow. 803-777-1500.
Time now for the Old Timey Meat Market clip of the day. On Saturday afternoon,
All righty. Ooh, that was a bad experience.
Games and had never lost in their orange pants. But on this beautiful day in the upstate, some things were about to change. Clemson roared to a 21-3 lead in the first half, but somehow, some way, that Gamecock black magic continued with the Fire Ants shutting out the Tigers in the second half. Final score, Gamecocks 22, Clemson 21. Let's hear Coach Joe following the game.
So proud of our young men and the effort and really the emotion in which they played the full 60 minutes. Things didn't look very good there early in the second quarter, and we got that touchdown right before the half to make it 21-10, and we got in the locker room at halftime and really didn't make that many adjustments. But we felt if we came out and played and executed and kept going, everything would work out all right. We were somewhat concerned when we missed that field goal, but again, our young men didn't quit. They came back, they played hard, and good things happened to them, and they ended up winning the football game.
And that's our old-timey clip of the day, sponsored by Old Timey Meat Market, with 3 locations, Lexington, South Congaree, and St. Andrews Road in Irma.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios, this is 107.5 The Game. Stop by or shop online today and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. The early game
With Bill Gunter and Jen Jensen.
on your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
$7:21 on a Tuesday morning here. Bill Gunner, JC Shurburtt, as we get you up and get you going. Get you ready for South Carolina and Missouri coming up on Saturday afternoon, 4 o'clock at Williams-Brice Stadium. Again, a reminder, Shane Beamer will speak with the media today at 1:30. You'll be able to hear that right here on 107.5 The Game. Jay and Terry will recap that as well. And again, another reminder, coming up at the end of this segment, actually, we will give you a chance to win a pair of tickets to the Saturday afternoon's game over at Williams-Brice Stadium against Missouri. So busy morning as we roll along. Be a busy week as well. And JC, it's fun. This is fun because people can complain about the offense and Spencer Rattler or say things about Marcus Satterfield, but I think even the most optimistic Gamecock, 5-2 was kind of a stretch when you look. If you looked at the initial schedule and you say, well, Texas A&M's number 6, Georgia's number 1, Kentucky on the road is always very difficult, Arkansas is better, but here they are. They're taking advantage of the schedule of maybe some games being a little bit easier, maybe some injuries on the other side, and I think long term, continuing to get bowl eligible, continuing to build, maybe add a guy like that guy DJ Chester, the offensive line recruit. A big name there on the board who made a visit on Saturday night and saw that atmosphere. That's what it's about. It's not just about 2022. It's continuing to build and evolve the program.
Yeah, you know what? Look, Shane Beamer and his staff are recruiting exceptionally well. Taylor Edwards is one of the best in the business, and the entire staff does a fantastic job recruiting, I think. And that is what it's all about. You got to replace talent with talent. But I want to be clear about something here. Will Muschamp left a lot of good football players in South Carolina. Beamer and staff deserve a lot of credit for kind of changing the culture in the sense that, these guys, they lost a lot, and now they're kind of learning how to win. And I think that's very important. Player development's very important, and getting guys to go out there and perform is very important. But this is not a team or a program that lacks for talent anywhere. So I agree with you. You got to keep recruiting, because if you don't recruit well, you're not going to get, you're going to be able to be kind of bowl eligible-ish and win some games and take advantage of some opportunities, but you got to get it to that next level. But I was just thinking over the weekend about it, and I was like, I read the players of the game. Every one of them was a Muschamp recruit except Austin Stocker. So, I don't really buy into the notion that this is this massive rebuilding job and it's a miracle that they've won or whatnot. That's taking nothing away from the current staff, because obviously there wasn't a whole lot of winning going on before they got here. But I did want to give some credit to the previous staff, though, because unlike the situation Spurrier took over, unlike the situation, Holtz took over, which is a lot of culture issues as well, or Muschamp, who didn't really have many players at all, the schedule sort of helped him the first couple of years. This is a team that has talent, and credit the current staff for, at least in 2 or 3 phases, getting the most out of it. And then, offensively, we'll see what happens moving forward. But I'm very impressed with their ability to maximize what they've got currently. And I think this year, when you look down the road, does present a golden opportunity still to have a big year despite what happened earlier. So, I think recruiting is important. Will they take another offensive lineman if DJ Chester wanted to come? I think that's a question that needs to be answered. They had another offensive lineman on campus that's committed to Florida as well for 2023. So, I don't know. Sometimes you take as many as you can at that position. Sometimes your numbers prevent you from doing it. They have an awfully good offensive line class as it stands right now. But, I think that in any kind of season in college football, Bill, I firmly believe that you're not just coaching for the now. You're not just performing for the now. You got to kind of put on a show sometimes for those guys that you're going to get down the road. And certainly, I think South Carolina made a huge statement Saturday night in that regard.
Yeah, and back to your point, I mean, I guess, or to kind of carry on from that point, Saturday night, South Carolina figures out, or Marshawn Lloyd reminds them, hey, I'm still on the team in the second half. You mentioned guys developing that came in under Muschamp. He's a guy that now, all the hype, all the hoopla around his recruitment, his commitment. We are starting to see that running back that we thought we would see in 2020, unfortunately, before COVID hit. Then he suffered the injury. But you're seeing that guy. And JC, I don't know right now where you would start to place him. What is your take on Marshawn Lloyd? And he is, I guess, draft eligible at the end of this year. It is his third year. I don't know if there's any thoughts. You know how running backs are. The lifespan there is the hits, and he's already had one significant injury. Your thoughts on him as he kind of moves into the back half of the season?
Well, I think, South Carolina hadn't had a 1,000-yard rusher since, they had Kevin Harris during the COVID year. But Mike Davis is the last one to do it during a quote-unquote normal year. Before that, it was Lattimore in 2010, his freshman season. There just hasn't been a whole lot of 1,000-yard rushers in the history of this program. So I think that's an achievable goal. There's two things about Marshawn Lloyd that are happening right now that are good. Number one, he's getting the ball, and he's getting a chance to get into a rhythm. You as a running back, you got to kind of shake the rust off, especially when you've had an injury. Last year, it just didn't look like, he had a few moments of glory, and it just didn't look like he'd shake the rust off. And then every time he turned around, when he was in, someone was missing a block, and he took a ton of big shots, That's where one of the narratives about him is he doesn't protect the ball. Well, he fumbled once this year, and it was a great play by the Arkansas kid. It was just, for some reason, he'd be in the game, make a big play, they'd leave him in, and then he'd get rocked and then have to go back out or fumble or something like that. So he's getting the ball more. I think that's number one. Number two, he's healthy and confident. We talked, Bill, about what we call the get-right games, Charlotte and SC State. The first three games of the season, the stats were eerily similar in the run game. What I think those two games accomplished was it gave Lloyd and the run game a chance to kind of gel and get into a rhythm. And that's blocking, that's play calling, that's feel of the game by Marshawn, and it gave him some confidence. And now I think he's back to being the running back we all thought he would be. I mean, people forget he was going to start ahead of Kevin Harris and Deshaun Fenwick in 2020 before he blew out his knee. So he's that good. And, Carolina needs to keep giving it to him. Now, Missouri's really good run defense-wise, and, they kind of get a lot of guys up around the line of scrimmage, so he's going to have to kind of navigate. Man, a lot of those runs the other night against A&M, were mostly, I'd say 80% him, just finding the hole, making a play, scooting around the edge. I mean, the touchdown run, he had guys in pursuit, and so I think he had like a 28-yarder later where he just barreled through and got out there. I mean, he's playing at another level. I mean, as far as the NFL goes, I'm sure that decision will be made down the road, but I do always caution everybody about running backs. They don't have a long shelf life in the league. Even a guy like Todd Gurley, I mean, look at what happened when he left the Rams and went to the Falcons. I mean, you just wear down, and they don't really put a whole lot of value because they can get a guy with fresh legs in there to run their systems and all that. So you need to be like Adrian Peterson good, I think, to last for a long time in the league. The days of the Emmitt Smiths and guys like that are probably over. So, if I were advising a kid and he projected high enough at running back, I'd probably always tell him, go ahead and go, because you just don't know given the nature of the position.
Real quick, you mentioned Deshaun Fenwick. All right, decided to look it up. 80 carries this year, 356 yards, and 4 touchdowns. He's performing okay out there. He's the leading carrier for Oregon State. They've got another guy, Damian Martinez, who's got 517 yards on 1 less carry and 5 touchdowns. But the Fenwick thing, as you brought that up, kind of reminded me. I wanted to see how he was doing out there.
Yeah, he's getting better. He was one of the very few running backs that you signed. And remember, Texas wanted him. Georgia kind of wanted him. I mean, that he was a wanted guy. But that you need to develop a little bit. And I thought Des Kitchings did a great job with him the 1 year he was here. He needed to get lower with his pad level, hit the hole a little harder, because he split out wide a lot in high school and stuff, Bill. So, I thought sort of low key under the radar. He, you know, even though Kevin Harris ran for a lot of yards, Finley got his share too. You know, I don't blame him for transferring because he probably wasn't going to play a whole lot anyway. But he's doing some pretty nice things at Oregon State, and you know, we'll see what happens moving forward. But he's always had the ability. But he's one of those guys that, you know, most running backs, you don't have to do a whole lot of developing or coaching. You work on fundamentals and things like that. A lot of it's natural, but he's one of those guys that did have work to do in the development department.
We'll keep talking about that, get a few more thoughts on the offense, including we'll get JC's take on South Carolina offering another quarterback, an in-state guy, Lenoris Sellers, and get his take on that. A lot to get to this morning. You're listening to JC Shurburtt, Bill Gunner, and he is the producer, Ed Bird. It's the early game. Oh, yeah, contest. Thank you. See, he's a good producer. That's what you do. You keep me in line. That's what Jen always does. Right now, let's give you a pair of tickets, give you a chance to win a pair of tickets. Ed will take caller number 7 this morning right now, 803-404-6100. You can win a pair of tickets to Saturday's afternoon's Missouri-South Carolina game.
Call now to win Gamecocks tickets right here. 803-404-6100. Sponsored by Carolina Honda Powerhouse, your source for Honda Power Sports.
The Game. 15th anniversary rewind. Alabama beats Texas 37-21 to win the national title in college football. The New Orleans Saints beat the Indy Colts 31-17 in the Super Bowl. Duke edges Butler to win the NCAA men's basketball championship. UConn beats Stanford to complete a perfect season. The South Carolina men's basketball team went 15-16. The women finished 14-14. The football team went 9-5 and won the SEC East, losing to number 2 Auburn in the SEC championship game. And the Gamecocks baseball team beat UCLA to win the national championship. Our 15th anniversary celebration, 107.5 The Game, is sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, getting you better sooner. On your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game.
If you have equity in your home, let Cap Center put it to work with a cash-out refinance. With competitive interest rates and a cap on closing costs, a cash-out refi with Cap Center gives you more to work with.
I'm a local business owner, so I understand the value of teamwork and communication. The Cap Center process is smoother than any I've experienced, and with the money from my cash-out refi, I was able to remodel my kitchen.
Get more with a Cap Center cash-out refinance. Believe it. Equal housing lender. Restrictions apply. Visit capcenter.com for details. NMLS ID number 67717. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Hey, I'm Jenny Stone. I'm with Fermi Plumbing. Call my dad if you have any soil drains, clog drains, leaky pipes, runny toilets, runny sinks, or no hot water. Call Fermi Plumbing for all of your service and repair needs. 803-201-2689. At Fermi Plumbing, where we make your gray skies blue.
This is Lisa with Stormy Plumbing. I look forward to hearing from you. Please call us at 803-201-2689. Thank you.
At Mount Valley Foundation Services, we're proud to share some of what our customers have said about us.
I was having problems with water in my crawl space during heavy rains. I was concerned about mold and the air my family was breathing. I'm so happy I called. The problem was fixed, and I'm not stressed anymore.
Mount Valley Foundation Services can keep your home and family safe. Visit fixmyfoundation.com to book your free inspection.
No, he's the entire hour. Okay, that's no problem.
Or even craters in your credit card yet. When other dealers say no, JT says yes, you're approved. Drive the Ram Charger or Challenger of your dreams. Get 1.9% financing and let JT get you approved. Dodge Lane on Greystone, JT'sDodge.com. Ram Power Day.
Are you wasting money on a timeshare you rarely use? Cancel it with Titan Exit Group. Get a free consultation and see how they can stop the never-ending maintenance fees and mortgage payments. In fact, if your timeshare contract is not terminated, legally released from your timeshare, 100% guaranteed. Call now for your free consultation at 800-200-0894. 800-200-0894.
The best part about taking ZQL Pure Z Sleep Plus Next Day Energy at night is actually The next morning, I wake up and learn, but none of the grogginess from taking too much melatonin. Pure Z Sleep Plus Next Day Energy is a bilayer tablet with immediate release melatonin and extended release B vitamins to help you fall asleep naturally and wake refreshed. It's my secret weapon for a great night's sleep and a great morning. Can't beat that.
Sequel Pure Z's Gummies. Sleep better, wake your best.
Prescription products require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if prescriptions are restrictions apply. See website for full details and safety information. Subscription requirement for 60 days after purchase.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same, but is 90% cheaper? And you can get it online? Just go to 4hims.com/radio. You'll get a free medical consultation, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and trusted generic alternatives to the biggest brands at 90% off. That's right, get generic for Viagra, the same active ingredient as brand name Viagra, but 90% cheaper. It's the same medication you get from your doctor, but with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. Results are guaranteed or your money back. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, 4hims.com/radio. That's 4hims.com/radio for your free online visit. FORHIMS.com/RADIO.
If you're dealing with injuries or pain, count on the experts at Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine to get you moving again. Our highly specialized physicians offer comprehensive care for patients at 5 convenient locations throughout the Midlands. Whether you're looking to return to your
Good morning. Good morning. All right. There we go.
Rolling along on a Tuesday morning, 7:38. As we get you up, get you going. JC Shurburtt, Bill Gunner. JC, I would go back to some recruiting real quick. Obviously, continue to me, the craziest thing now with the transfer portal and free transfer is your quarterback room can go from loaded to empty in the blink of an eye. So continuously recruiting quarterbacks and having them committed and coming in is important. The Gamecocks do not have a 2023 quarterback commitment. They took 2 last year. Colton Gauthier is there. They have a really interesting prospect there. Is it Jalen Daniels? Jalen, not Jaden. Am I right on that? There he is.
Kansas quarterback, but not like the LSU quarterback.
Yes, there we go. All right, thank
LSU
you.
is Jaden Daniels. So
Yes.
yeah, there's a lot of guys with similar names out there.
But I guess going back, Lenora Sellers gets an offer over the weekend. I believe Saturday morning is maybe when it was official. He's currently a Syracuse commitment, and you've written many times on the Big Spur. He has a very good relationship with the Syracuse offensive coordinator. What do you make of the offer? What do you think of the odds of maybe being able to flip him later in the process?
Well, Carolina's going to give it a shot. I mean, I don't think it's an automatic because of that long-standing relationship. There's also a chance Georgia could come in and offer. He's a really good player, though. I mean, he's one of those guys in state that, and look, I'm not. There's no criticism about waiting this late to offer him because you got to be sure. They had some other guys they were recruiting. He's really gotten a lot better this season. Really gone from, I think, a nice prospect to potentially an elite one. We may see that at the Shrine Bowl this year. But he's big. He's got a good arm. He's accurate. I think his lowest upside, Bill, is probably that kid that dumbly went to Georgia from Wake Forest and then opted out. I don't remember his name, but he was a pretty good player. That's probably the lowest. It's probably his floor. Then his ceiling could be, a guy like Hooker. I mean, I think he's that good if he develops. So, they're going to try. I think, there's a shot there. We'll just kind of have to see what happens and all that. But I certainly agree with the decision to offer. I don't, like I said, I have no criticism whatsoever with him waiting, especially at that position. But you're absolutely right about the dynamics of a quarterback room. You can only play one at a time. and guys want to go where they can play, and that's the case everywhere. I mean, look how many guys have left Southern Cal and Ohio State at that position the last few years, and guys have gone elsewhere and thrived or not, but certainly that is a position that is a constant transition in the portal era.
Well, I mean, yeah, you just to even speak more to that, just look across the board at right now the SEC and what you have in terms of guys like the guy you just mentioned, Hendon Hooker, who is a transfer. Spencer Rattler is a transfer. Jaden Daniels down at LSU, big win this past weekend. Again, transfer. I guess Max Johnson.
Jackson Dart at Ole Miss is a
Exactly.
transfer. Will Levis at Kentucky's a transfer.
So,
yeah. I mean, gosh, I'd like to probably need to go count that up and see. I'd be curious to see how many. A&M had Max Johnson as their starter before he went out with an injury as a transfer. So there's quite a few.
I think Will, correct me if I'm wrong, I think Will Rogers was recruited to he's the leading passer in terms of yardage in the SEC, and I'm pretty sure he was actually recruited there. But yeah, that to your point there, the quarterback position is one that is necessary. Speaking of quarterback, Spencer Rattler over the weekend, 12 of 25, had the bad fumble, but I thought he played a little bit better, just got hurt by a few drops. He still holds the ball a little bit too long, but how much development have you seen from him from game 1 now through 7?
I mean, I thought he had kind of a sneaky good football game. Some of the passes he completed were, the one to Juice Wells at the sideline was unreal. I kind of wish they'd run that a little bit more because Juice seems to go up and get it. Rattler seems to put it on the money. I mean, it was a kind of an awkward looking play. It looked like he just tossed it off his back foot, but my gosh, that one went in there. The long passes to Jalen Brooks, I felt bad for Jalen. I'm like, I don't know what it is about A&M and drops and long distance passes that he's open on that they don't connect on, but my heart went out to him because he's been money this year. But there was the drop in the end zone. He kind of got contorted a little bit, Bill. I think he just kept running. He caught it over his shoulder because Spencer put it on the money. And then there was the bogus, the ridiculous pass interference flag pickup on the second one. I thought that was egregiously bad. It was clearly pass interference, and what possessed whoever to say that they needed to pick that flag up. I mean, to me, that's insanity. And the referees Saturday night left a lot to be desired, quite frankly. But I thought Spencer threw some nice balls. I think the throws to Stogner. I mean, him going up the sideline, anytime you get him in one-on-one coverage, I think that's awesome. And he caught the big one down there. That was pass interference as well, by the way. They didn't call it, but he called it anyway. Pass across the middle was really nice. I thought, Spencer still makes mistakes, and every quarterback does, especially when you're kind of trying to do something you've never done before, which is kind of play in this type of system. But, has he gotten a lot better from the start? I can't really. It kind of looks about the same to me, but I've always kind of thought he's played pretty well. So I think we're all kind of sitting around waiting on this explosive passing game and all that, but I just don't know that that's who the Gamecocks are going to be this year. I think that, it'd be great if they did, because I think that'd take the offense to the next level, but it's just not something that I think that there's a viable path to it happening this season.
It's hard, I think, at this point in time for things to all of a sudden change. But we'll see. We'll see. This week will be another week. 803-404-6100 if you want to send a text message in. We'll come back. We'll wrap up hour number 2 with JC Shurburtt. It's the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Our 15th anniversary celebration on 107.5 The Game is sponsored by
Right.
At the Blue Cross and Blue Shield Federal Employee Program, they cover more federal employees, retirees, and their families than any other health plan. Now it's time to see what they can do for you. Learn more about healthy benefits at FEP Blue. she won her independence from South American Colombia in 1903, Panama announced that beginning in 1904, the country would be identified as a part of North America. It took a while to catch on, but eventually it did. The same thing happened to the Apostle Paul. He was so viciously anti-Christian in his early days that many didn't believe the change when he became a believer. They thought it was a trick, a trap, but the change was real. Paul became perhaps the most able spokesman for early Christianity. Worried that some folks doubt your sincerity? Just give it some time. The truth usually comes to the surface. This is Stephen Chitty from Christian Life Church on Bush River Road, reminding you that life matters, and so do you. Go to clcolumbia.com for in-person and live streaming service times.
Zerorez Carpet and Air Duct Cleaning, the most trusted and reviewed cleaning company in town. Take advantage of the fall sale going on now in 3 rooms of carpeting for only $119 when you mention me, Bill Gunner at 1075 The Game. Easily schedule your cleaning online at zerorezcolumbia.com. Palmetto Propane, a family-owned company, has been delivering propane to homes and businesses for more than 60 years. Professional installation, exceptional service, and premium gas log and outdoor fire features, we're proud to be South Carolina's leading full-service propane and fuel provider. And our online payment and scheduling give you the access you need anytime, anywhere. Visit palmettopropane.com to connect with us and to find a location.
Are you wasting money on a timeshare you rarely use? Cancel it with Titan Exit Group. Get a free consultation and see how they can stop the never-ending maintenance fees and mortgage payments. In fact, if your timeshare contract is not terminated, you owe nothing, so you have nothing to lose but those monthly fees. Get legally released from your timeshare, 100% guaranteed. Call now for your free consultation at 800-200-0894. 800-200-0894.
All right. Jen had to go back to, but just for a few days had to go home. Her mom wasn't doing good, so she just had to go up to Chicago. But I think I didn't talk to her yesterday. Yeah. I need to check with her today. When she texted me last Friday, it was kind of sudden, spur of the moment, and she said she was going to be out for a few days, but didn't tell me how long. Didn't tell us how long. Yeah, she's doing better, but I just need to check with her. I think she'll probably be out all week.
The game.
Final segment with JC Shurburtt. He'll be back on Thursday. We'll really dig into that Missouri game more when he comes back on Thursday. But again, JC, just as we wrap up, Shane Beamer set to talk today 1:30. Again, you can hear it right here on 107.5 at the game during Jay and Terry's show. But as we kind of wrap up, final thoughts on Texas A&M. The atmosphere was incredible. The first 6 minutes, 7 minutes was unlike anything I've ever seen. Have you ever seen a start like that? I mean, just where basically A&M couldn't do anything right and everything went the way it needed to. Have you ever seen a start like that in a football game?
I'm sure I have. Maybe, probably not with that type of atmosphere, that type of opponent, I mean, I guess it sort of reminded a lot of people of the Georgia game in 2012. You know, Gamecocks sort of got up and they were playing good defense, forced a turnover, 14-0, and then Ace Sanders took the punt to the house, and that place was rocking then. But you know, shoot, that wasn't even a game in the second half. It was just kind of quiet, and everybody's just sitting around wondering what the heck to do. I mean, it was one of those things. But no, I can't think of one in recent memory. I mean, South Carolina's over the years had pretty good starts here and there, and you know, then things have happened. Either they've blown them out, or other teams come back. But the one positive thing, I mean, people can say what they want about, blowing a 17-point lead, or it should have been worse, and all that good stuff. And, I tend to agree with that. I think there could have been some better things happen. But if you think about this, Carolina never trailed. I don't think they ever were tied. And in the second half, when the offense needed to go for 2 touchdowns, they did. And if you think back to that Alabama game in 2010 when Carolina won, I kind of think the game evolved similarly to that. It almost could end up being one of the similar score. If you remember, Gamecocks got up 21-3, and Bama started coming back, and then there was the Garcia safety play where he threw it out the back of the end zone. It was 21-14, and then Carolina needed two scoring drives, and they started riding Marcus Lattimore, and Garcia kept completing passes. And Brian Maddox had a big run in that game, and 35-21 was the final. So it kind of unfolded a lot like that Bama game. But now that was, with everything that happened, I mean, you talk about you return the opening kickoff, then you almost get a pick six, you kick a field goal, and then the ball that went off the knee of the A&M quarterback and landed in Taka Hemingway's hands. I mean, that was kind of a thing of beauty. And then you had this play where Bill Smith goes up the middle, just refuses to go down. I was kind of worried they're going to blow the whistle, and then he gets a first down, and then he walks into the end zone. So that was, there was a lot of stuff happening right there early. And then, the game kind of settled in. But when Carolina needed to go score twice to win the football game, they did.
Real quick, college football big picture. Locally, I say I'm going to lump Charlotte in with locally. You got a guy that you think would be a good fit up there for Charlotte as they continue to try and build that football program. I know Pete Limbo and Clayton White have kind of been tossed around. I'm not necessarily saying either of those guys. You look at that job, fertile recruiting area. I know you and Ryan Bartow have always called Carolina the D-line heaven, so you've got some good places to pick from. You got a up-and-coming coach or somebody that you think would be a good fit up there for Charlotte?
I mean, there's a lot of coaches that love that job and think it's kind of high upside and stuff. I don't know that I've ever necessarily agreed with that, Bill, just because how many FBS programs are in North Carolina? It's not really a football state, but, they've got good facilities. And most coaches, so I'm probably wrong about this, most coaches think it's a great job. And so, who would take it? Can you go get a guy like the guy from Kent State? I don't know. I think he's probably getting a big job soon. And Kent State's kind of at a different level. I mean, Sean Lewis, he's a guy I really like. Just very innovative coach and all that. But can you go get a guy like that, or are you going to go the local assistant route? And North Carolina's Phil Longo has been mentioned on the list, along with the 2 South Carolina assistants. What exactly are they looking for? I think a guy like Bobby Bentley could do a great job at Charlotte, quite frankly. I know South Florida's struggling this year and all that, but, he's a legendary coach in the state and, certainly has won a lot of games over the years at the high school level. And so you take a chance with a guy like that. It's real interesting. Charlotte had Mike Houston, who's in Carolina now, hired. And then he went to ECU. And so he ended up with Will Healy, who was considered a rising star. So I guess not anymore on Will. But, we'll see what happens with it. I certainly think either Clayton White or Pete Limbo, if they got that job, would be, really good at it. So, we'll just have to see what happens.
We'll continue talking about that on Thursday when you come back. Hope you have a great rest of the day, JC, and appreciate you always taking time to join us on Tuesday.
Hey, thanks, Bill. Be good, guys.
Good hearing from you. JC Shurburtt there, as he does each and every Tuesday, and he'll be back on Thursday. We'll do a whole nother hour next. It's the early game, 107.5 The Game.
Celebrating our 15th anniversary, it's Columbia's Sports Talk Station, sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine.
WNKT-FM East.
We do the keyword here, Dave.
Yeah.
Shurburtt's Towing wants to remind you that the game isn't over, even after the final whistle.
How about that turnover? Oh, yeah. We're not turning over. This is a bad time to bring up the false start.
Shurburtt's Towing always has your back, every day and every game day. When the final whistle blows, we're ready to tow. The fastest response comes from the most trusted and reliable name in towing, Shurburtt's Towing, the best hookers in town. Shurburtt's Towing, the best and fastest hookers in town. Uneven sidewalks,
Yeah, I don't think you saw game days going to Jackson. Was it Jackson State this weekend? So I think he's getting what he wants. He's got a lot of attention, no pressure. It's not about money for Sanders, for Deion.
Whether you're looking to return to your sport after injury or someone who needs help from knee, hip, elbow, shoulder, or foot pain, we're here for you. Our expert team can get you better sooner. Visit lexmed.com/ortho to learn more.
JT's Jeep Ram has the largest inventory around. When other dealers are charging thousands over, you save thousands at JT and get 0.9%.
Yeah, I mean, that's possible. Yeah, again, Deion Sanders. I think Deion goes to I can see Deion holding out for Florida State. I can see him holding out. I need to mention Vanderbilt game, nighttime game. Yeah, that's true. You definitely don't want to lose anybody at this point. Like to keep everybody together.
It's time for your chance to win $100 at
Grand, 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 like grand prize, Grand.
drive the $25,000 signing bonus contest on 107.5 The Game.
So we're just doing some housekeeping right now. Pretty fantastic. I'm like, little to the left, little to the left, little to the right, up a little bit more.
Decorating the studio at 6:37 in the morning. You're listening to Bill Gunn, Jensen. If you're watching the live stream, you're seeing us entertain ourselves by trying to move a flag around and get it stuck to the wall.
But then the right goes down a little bit.
On your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5.
He killed 16 Czechoslovakians. Guy was in a Tyrian Deco.
The Game.
Final hour of the Tuesday morning episode, but we got a lot for you. Obviously, Shane Beamer talking today at 1:30. You'll be able to hear that right here on 107.5 The Game. So make sure you tune in then, and you can then cut up with Jay and Terry after you hear Heath Klein. Now I'm going to tell you about Heath Klein too, but you will hear Shane Beamer at 1:30 today, and then yes, you can hear Heath Klein at 3:00. You can also catch Heath Klein later this week out at Columbia Craft. He'll be there doing his show from 3 to 6 this coming Football Friday. So get out and see Heath Klein then at Columbia Craft. You'll also be able to hear Carolina Calls right here on Thursday night from 6 to 7 p.m. And right after Carolina Calls, make sure you stay tuned in. The Tommy Moody Show will be on Thursday night, 7 p.m. right after Carolina Calls. So we got a busy week for you. Shane Beamer talking here later today, 1:30, right here on 107.5 The Game as part of his weekly press conference. We'll have Carolina Calls Thursday night from 6 to 7. The Tommy Moody Show on Thursday night at 7 p.m. following Carolina Calls. And Heath Klein out at Columbia Craft on Friday doing his show from 3 to 6. So go by and visit him, part of your Football Friday. We did also learn yesterday that South Carolina will play a night game up in Nashville. So you'll be able to party all Friday night, sleep in a little bit on Saturday, and then get up and go over to what should be a rocking Vanderbilt State. I don't know. I have zero clue what they call it. I probably could care less what they call it, but I've been up there plenty of times. It really is one of my favorite road trips because Nashville's great. The stadium is, it's a glorified high school stadium, but typically the sight lines are not bad. The crowd's not bad. Tickets are relatively cheap. It's not a bad little bit. If you've never been to Nashville, I would encourage you heading up for that one. It'll be a chance for South Carolina to pick up another SEC road victory next week when they go up and take on Vanderbilt. Again, that will be a night game on the SEC network. So it should be a great opportunity for, yeah, that's right. Hope says you can also go there and you can say hello to Patrick if you go up there. You can knock on Patrick Prett's door, maybe even see if he'll let you sleep on the couch. So see, another great reason to go up and visit Nashville, catch South Carolina and Vanderbilt next Saturday night, 7:30 start time on the SEC network. 803-404-6100 if you want to weigh in. Obviously, we've talked a lot about South Carolina, Texas A&M as we kind of put that to bed. There's an interesting article, and if you have kind of paid attention, I've gone on some Texas A&M message boards this week just to get the feel for where they're at coming off of the loss on Saturday night, and they owe Jimbo Fisher They would owe Jimbo Fisher $86 million in the event that at the end of the year they said, Jimbo, this isn't working. It turns out you had a generational quarterback in Jameis Winston, and outside of him, you're not quite the coach everybody thinks you are. And there's a interesting article in The Athletic by Andy Staples, and it basically admits Texas A&M stuck. They are stuck right now. They are in a situation where this isn't working. Recruiting is good for them, but the talent's not being developed. Fisher is in the middle of his 5th season at Texas A&M. They are 3-4, obviously, this year. His team has yet to score. Listen to what I'm about to tell you here. Offensive guru Jimbo Fisher has yet to score more than 24 points against an FBS opponent this year. Let me repeat that. They have Texas A&M. They had a great game against Sam Houston State, I believe. But other than that, against FBS competition, they have yet to score more than 24 points. His career record at Texas A&M is 37-18. In comparison, the guy they fired prior to him, Kevin Sumlin, was 39-16 in his first 55 games. And Texas A&M still has Mississippi this weekend, night game there in College Station on the SEC Network. Florida, Auburn, and LSU on the schedule left. So it's interesting to see, and it kind of brings us full circle now to what you're seeing with these contracts, these athletic departments getting heavily invested in these coaches. Now, if Shane Beamer continues to win this year, and probably as long as he gets bowl eligible, I would say maybe gets to 7 wins, I think you're very likely to see a very nice raise, extension and raise for Shane Beamer. But what is feasible, what would be appropriate, will be an interesting conversation to have, come December. Obviously, if South Carolina were to run out the next 3 games, beat Missouri, beat Vanderbilt, beat Florida, and you're at 8-2 with Clemson or with Tennessee and Clemson following that, I still think you wait till the end of the season to give the extension. But all right, now the extension looks a little bit different. The pay raise would seem a little bit more maybe substantial. It's going to be very interesting because you're seeing these coaching contracts, which have just skyrocketed. It's crazy what's happened in college football with these contracts. And Jimbo Fisher with Texas A&M has all the leverage. He has everything on them. He got a contract extension the last season that fully guaranteed him an average of $9.5 million through 2031. Repeat, fully guaranteed him an average of $9.5 million through 2031. If Texas A&M officials wanted to fire Jimbo Fisher without cause after this season, they'd owe him $85,950,000. So, okay, 50,000 less than 86 million. $85,950,000 if Texas A&M were to fire Jimbo Fisher at the end of the year. It's crazy. And Texas A&M right now is in a situation where, again, I mentioned I went to their message boards. They're not happy. Their offense stinks. I just gave you those numbers. They've not scored more than 24 points against an FBS opponent. They're last in the SEC in offense, but they're stuck with this coach who a lot of people out there are saying runs an archaic offensive system, is not developing quarterbacks. Lord knows he's had quarterbacks out there. It's not like Texas A&M. Texas A&M is really odd about that, about the number of really good quarterbacks they've had come through that program. Zach Calzada obviously was maybe one of the least heralded and picked up that win last year against Alabama. But it's interesting to see where this is going. Haynes King was a highly recruited quarterback. Max Johnson obviously transferred in and is injured right now. And maybe Max Johnson would be the difference in their season. And then Connor Weigman, obviously another elite 5-star quarterback that South Carolina fans saw there at the end of that game. But Jimbo Fisher, and I don't know if I'm ready to throw Mel Tucker in there with Michigan State. I feel like Tucker, I feel like Tucker is a guy that is capable of still earning his money there. They'll take on Michigan this week, by the way. The Spartans, they're actually, as of last night, they were a 21-point underdog at this point in time. And, we'll see how that kind of works out for them against the Wolverines. But you wonder about the money being spent on these football coaches and then what athletic departments are going to do to get out of it. Again, Texas A&M, and things aren't getting easier for Texas A&M. Here comes Texas getting into the conference. That's going to change some recruiting battles maybe that they've been able to win recently, given where they are at in the state of Texas and being able to sell the SEC. Here comes Oklahoma, which makes it a little bit more difficult. And if you just look at the way they're considering, doing the pods or whatever scheduling format the SEC comes up with, you feel fairly certain that Texas A&M is going to draw the short straw here, that they could very well. They've already got a little bit of a rivalry going with LSU, so you feel like LSU may stay on the schedule. You feel like the SEC is going to want to market. Televisions are going to want that Texas A&M game. There comes Texas back on your schedule. It feels proximity-wise that Oklahoma would be a good fit to have them play, so that travel's somewhat marginalized. if Arkansas continues to get better under Sam Pittman, you kind of look at it. Texas A&M's in a situation where their schedule could continue to be extremely, extremely difficult if some of these things kind of play out. And right now, Jimbo Fisher is not showing signs of turning anything around there in College Station. So we'll see what happens. But financially, I think the conversation that we have in the offseason is, do you see contracts change? I mean, it's one thing if you've won a national championship, and Jimbo Fisher, again, he won a national championship, but the more and more his coaching career plays out, the more you start to look at what happened at Florida State. You go, okay, you are the coach of a national championship winning team, much like Gene Chizik is the coach of a national championship winning team. Yes, that Gene Chizik had Cam Newton, you had Jameis Winston. Turns out you two very, 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 very similar. So just something to keep an eye on there, but a good article in The Athletic by Andy Staples on the money owed to Jimbo Fisher. Absolutely crazy. Craig weighs in on our text line and says, why do not schools offer coaches contracts based on performance? 6 wins equals 1.5, win a Division 5, championship 10. Yeah, coaches know they got agents. They're going to negotiate. And obviously it depends on where that coach is coming from. I mean, I understand what Craig is asking, but let's be honest, you couldn't do that. You couldn't do that with Jimbo Fisher and lure him away from a Florida State. You were going to have to give him some kind of ridiculous contract. They did, and now right now they're kind of in a bad spot. So keep an eye on that situation. But that's why it's hard to believe anything will happen with Jimbo Fisher for the next 2 or 3 years. Texas A&M is stuck with him unless they're willing to pony up. You saw that if you watched the SEC shorts yesterday, you saw the little funny clip with the guy playing the Texas A&M fan and trying to figure out how to come up with $86 million. But it's certainly a situation that you continue to watch and monitor out there in College Station. Again, especially given who's coming into the league with Texas and Oklahoma and the proximity to College Station. 803-404-6100. We'll continue on this morning. Get back into a little bit of South Carolina talk. And again, get back into that NFL discussion. Couple quarterbacks now. They're going to go see what it's like to hang out on the bench. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Celebrating our 50th anniversary. Sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine. Just download the 107.5 The Game app or go to 107.5thegame.com to check out the podcast. On your home of the Gamecocks, 107.5 The Game in the new 107.5 The Game app.
You've heard me talk about some changes coming to HVAC systems because of government regulations. There are going to be changes starting at the beginning of 2023, and that makes right now, the end of 2022, the absolute best time to get in touch with AAA Heating and Air and purchase a brand new unit. No deals will be turned down, and you know what? You get guaranteed financing. Again, let me repeat that. You get guaranteed financing. Nowhere in there did I mention those of you with great credit or those of you that are trying to build it. If you have credit, you get financing. Call AAA Heating and Air today. They'll make sure that they get a deal suitable for you, and you can guarantee financing, and you get a 15-year parts and labor warranty. So AAA Heating and Air just doesn't put in this new unit and then run off and leave you high and dry, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. They stick around. They offer that 15-year parts and labor warranty to make sure that new heating and air unit continue to work properly. So give them a phone call today, 803-677-1500. You need to tell them Bill Gunner sent you. Again, that phone number, 803-677-1500. Call AAA Heating and Air today. Check out the great deals they have on brand new HVAC systems. You can have new comfort in your home as soon as tomorrow. That means you need to call them today, 803-677-1500. Call AAA Heating and Air. Tell them Bill Gunner sent you.
The new era of Thursday night football is rolling on Prime Video. This Thursday,
a matchup between MVP quarterbacks when Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens travel to Tampa Bay to take on Tom Brady and the Buccaneers. Pre-game coverage begins at 7 p.m. Eastern with TNF tonight, delivered by Little Caesars. Not an Amazon Prime member? Sign up for a 30-day free trial to stream the game. It's the Ravens and the Buccaneers, only on Prime Video. See Amazon.com/watchtnf for details.
Are you seeing the telomeres here? Come here, look at this. Dr. Ocasio's lab startup just discovered a gene therapy breakthrough.
Cells have already done.
He needs a fleet of research assistants before this breakthrough breaks them.
Lab techs, research assistants.
Indeed can help him hire great people fast.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. We instantly connect you with quality candidates whose resumes on Indeed match your job description. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
This report is sponsored by FN America Careers.
An accident blocking the two left lanes 20 westbound between Bush River, exit 63 and 378 at exit 61. An accident at Shady Grove and Broadway. Also an accident at Killing Mill Road right in front of the Killing Mill.
Shut up.
Are you ready to join a high caliber team? FN America is always looking for the best.
I just realized Leslie Jordan died. Oh, God, he was killed.
At Mount Valley Foundation Services, we're proud to share some of what our customers have said about us.
I noticed that my driveway and sidewalk had shifted over 9 inches. It looked horrible. And it was dangerous. I mean, someone could trip.
That's awful.
He raised it up and it looked good and much safer.
Mount Valley Foundation Services can lift your sinking concrete. Visit fixmyfoundation.com to book your free inspection.
Mount Valley Foundation Services. Rock solid foundation. Enjoy Gamecock football Saturday at Columbia Craft Brewing Company.
That's a shame. Yeah, I see that. Yeah, medical emergency. That's all.
Sponsored by Progressive Insurance. Progressive offers a great price and round-the-clock protection when bundling home and auto. It's one of those rare times when you can save money and get something great. Bundle today at progressive.com.
Yeah, crazy.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 1075 The Game. Stop by, shop online today, and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. The early game. On your home of the Gamecocks, the early game. 1075 The Game.
803-404-6100 is how you
news and notes coming up in here in just a few minutes. Matt Ryan injured and being benched. Kind of a rough start there for him. Interesting little story coming out last night from out west. This is, I guess, we talk about all the money that's being poured into television. We're just talking about coaching contracts. Good grief. The amount of money is being poured into television contracts. So number one, trying to get fans in the stands, back in the stands, keeping them in the stands. Williams-Brice Stadium was electric on Saturday night. South Carolina's done a really good job. Ray Tanner, Chance Miller have done a really good job down there of building around the stadium, making it, I mean, Lord knows if you're listening this morning and you're my age, 40, you remember, or you're older, you remember what it was like when you had the farmers market over there, and you remember what the initial fairgrounds were like. It's changed dramatically over there. Getting fans into the stands, building inside the stadium, updating concourses, concessions, getting people to come. Well, it's still a little bit different. Stanford's trying something. Stanford has gotten on a roll recently. They beat Notre Dame and Arizona State, so why not take advantage of the strike while the iron is hot mentality? This coming out from Stanford yesterday. They are offering a free trial or free tickets for its last 2 home games against Washington and BYU. This is part of the narrative. It says this is yesterday, but starting today, this is from Stanford, mind you. Starting today, you can test drive seats for the 2023 season for free. That's right. Get free tickets to the final 2 home games of the season and lock in those same seats for the entire 2023 home schedule, which features games against Cal, Notre Dame, Oregon, and more. This is from Stanford. It says, join us for the games against Washington State and BYU this November with zero obligation. Want to change your seats for 2023? You'll have the flexibility and priority over the general public to choose other options. Decide that next year's plan isn't right for you? No sweat. You can cancel anytime this year. It's truly a free trial for the 2022 season. So Stanford yesterday letting their fans have free tickets, giving them a free trial for the Washington State game and the BYU game out there. I'm telling you, I've been saying this, tickets, how administrations with the money being spent, ESPN, ABC, CBS, NBC, Amazon getting in a little bit, Fox, they're not paying millions upon millions of dollars for you and I to go to the game. They want us home, on the couch, at the bar, wherever. They do not want us in the stadium watching with our own eyes. They want you in front of a television somewhere so they can show you advertisements and tell you how much or what you should spend and so forth and so on. You go to the game. And so now schools have to figure ways to get fans in the stands, get them to come to games so that they can make money. It's really an interesting dynamic that we're seeing play out across college football. And, I guess the upside of that is all that money that's being poured into the television or being poured into universities, athletic departments by these television deals help pay for those incredibly gigantic coaching salaries that we just talked about. And that right now Texas A&M is stuck in with Jimbo Fisher. 803-404-6100, how you can jump in and be a part of the program. I mentioned yesterday some NFL news. Last night, the Chicago Bears hammer the New England Patriots. And in that game, again, New England, remember last year, Mac Jones was kind of the hot commodity of the NFL. He was really coming along, talked about his development, how he was very ready for stepping in for Bill Belichick's team and ready to take over for Tom Brady. And now he's benched. And it's the Patriots. They don't know where they're going to go with their quarterback situation. Last night, after the game, Bill Belichick said he was not ready to comment. He said, we just finished the game. But Mac Jones was benched. He was only 3 of 6 in the ball game. They went to Bailey Zappi, who actually came right in and led the team right down the field and scored a touchdown. Then he ended up throwing 2 interceptions, and that really didn't help. But Zappi finished 14 of 22 for 185 yards, and it really didn't matter again because the second half, the Chicago Bears took over and dominated the football game. But again, you got that situation taking place. The Patriots are back in the market for a quarterback. I wonder if Baker Mayfield would be interested in going to New England and playing for Bill Belichick. Then in Indianapolis, the Colts are benching Matt Ryan. Now, it says he's being benched. He does have a grade 2 shoulder sprain, and that probably limits what he can do a little bit. But Matt Ryan is being benched. And according to Frank Reich, the head coach, Frank saying he's a pro's pro. The guy is special. We all know the quarterback position, that our poor production on offense is not on one person. It's not on Matt Ryan, but we also know as a head coach and a quarterback, it doesn't matter. I'm judged on wins and losses. Quarterbacks are judged on points and turnovers. We understand that's how it is in this league. Matt will be a pro. Matt Ryan's thrown 9 interceptions this season. He's also taken 24 sacks, and he's fumbled the ball 11 times. He's lost 3 of those 11 fumbles. The Colts are 29th in the league in scoring. They're averaging just 16 points a contest. Sam Ehlinger, former Texas standout, has been promoted to the starter there for Indianapolis. Just something to keep an eye on. Nick Foles will be the backup now in Indy. We'll see how that goes. So you've got a couple situations there playing out. And then you look down in Tampa, and the Buccaneers coming off that 21-3 loss to the Panthers. That was a shocker over the weekend to see Tampa struggling that much, let alone the Panthers be able to go and beat anybody right now. Tom Brady, you start to wonder how much more can he take going through the rest of the season. I don't think Brady's a quitter, and I don't think he's necessarily going to retire midseason. Lord, I hope not. That's not a good way to end your career. But you got to look at Tom Brady and figure this is it. This is going to be the last year. Statistically speaking, Brady, by the way, not awful. He's not having an awful year. He's just got very little around him that's helping him. The defense is really struggling there, and then they've just lost some games. The offense isn't really performing up to par either. But Brady on the season has thrown 8 touchdowns to just 1 interception. He's thrown for just over 1,400 yards as well, and has been a guy that he's thrown for 1,900 yards. He's thrown for 1,942 yards, not 1,400. But he's been a guy that I don't think he's been a bad quarterback this year. He just, again, is not getting much help from the players around him. Leonard Fournette on the season, just 362 yards rushing on 103 carries. They don't have a run game. It'll be interesting to see how this continues to play out with Tom Brady. Obviously, if you've kind of paid attention, there's some stuff in his personal life that's playing out publicly, and that's kind of unfortunate for him as well. And you've got to imagine that's weighing on him. So we'll see how it plays out with Tom Brady. And Steven on our live stream says, I thought you said Patriots needed another quarterback. Maybe Tom Brady could go back home and play for the Patriots for 1 year. Who knows? Why not? Patriots definitely need somebody. 803-404-6100. That's how you can weigh in this morning. You're listening to the early game on 107.5 The Game.
Keep up with our 15th anniversary podcast by downloading our 107.5 The Game app or at 1075thegame.com. Sponsored by Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
Hey, if you've got a hole in your roof or you need a whole new roof, you need to call Mid-State Roofing, 356-1919. For nearly a quarter of a century, Mid-State Roofing has established its reputation as the leader in the roofing industry. Whether it's a
Pioneer Tree Service has more than 4 decades of helping homeowners maintain and manage trees on their property. Their skilled crew offers customized solutions that match your needs. But tree trimming and tree removal can be dangerous. You need to trust the people that are doing the job. Before attempting to remove the mail, call Pioneer Tree Service for a free quote. They remove limbs safely and make sure the future growth is away from potential trouble such as roof lines and driveways. Cutting down trees takes more than a chainsaw. Even branches can weigh thousands of pounds. And their removal must be handled with care. Pioneer Tree Service offers a full complement of state-of-the-art heavy equipment.
Yep. Yes. Yeah, we got soccer bright and early at 9 a.m. And then I will probably just go straight on out there after that. I think that's our plan at least. I'll judge accordingly. See how Austin feels, see how I feel. 9 a.m. soccer on a Saturday. Whee! Oh, the lottery? Is the lottery, what is it, Mega Millions? What's it, 600?
Join nuimage.com and save 20% with promo code radio.
It's not Mega Millions, so it must be Powerball. When is Powerball? I have a parking lot, Craig. I have a parking lot that we run. Powerball 680 million. Cash value 326.1. So let's see, 326. So you'd win 180, roughly 182 million. $182 million. I could go for 182 million right now. I could go for the 182,616,000.
Appreciate it, DK. And for all you football fans out there, you're like DK. Go to Midas.com, schedule an appointment, see additional savings we have, and utilize one of our Midas courtesy vehicles for your convenience during your visit.
Thank you, DK Joyner. Midas in the Midlands has the winning service on your car.
Firehouse Subs restaurants across Columbia support first responders by donating a portion of every purchase to Firehouse Subs Public Safety Foundation. To date, the foundation has awarded more than 560.
Yeah, I always do. I learned a while back. So it's 680 million. If you took the cash value of 326 million, you pay 44% tax. 44% is what you'd end up paying. You'd receive 56% of the cash value.
Just realized the lottery is up to 680 million, 326.1 million. If you took the cash option, I was doing the math on that and then starting to plan a vacation on the live stream. So that is the Powerball that we'll draw again on Wednesday. So there you go. If you want to essentially waste about $4, or if you've got $4 to spend on a lottery ticket, good luck with that. 803-404-6100. There are certain announcers that I really like in sports that I will specifically listen to. I don't know if I ever find them like very informative, but I like the voice. I like how they call games. They make it different. Jim Nantz is one of those guys. I'll be dead honest. I've become more of a fan. I've said this multiple times in the last few weeks. I don't watch College Game Day for 3 straight hours, but I do like what Pat McAfee has brought to College Game Day. So I tune in a little bit more because I kind of like where Pat McAfee's going with that, and Reese Davis and Kirk Herbstreit and all that. Well, Jim Nantz is a guy in basketball that I absolutely enjoy listening to. He's been a big part of the Final Four since 1991. And by big part, I mean he's the guy who calls it. Last night, it was announced that Jim Nantz will step away from calling the NCAA men's basketball tournament after next year. That's a little unfortunate. I'm kind of unhappy about that. Next year's Final Four will take place in Houston. Nantz is 63 years old. He's going to continue doing the network coverage for the NFL. He will also do the Masters and the PGA Championship, so he'll be a part of the golf programming. But Jim Nantz has always been really good. He's one of, I guess, if you started saying, all right, across sports, all sports, who are some of the announcers that you thoroughly enjoy listening to? He would probably be up in my top. Keith Jackson has always been my favorite. That's just obviously growing up. Keith Jackson was absolutely near the top, maybe at the top. Jim Nantz is up there. I thoroughly enjoyed listening to him. He started working with CBS Sports and covering the NCAA basketball tournament back in 1986, and he hosted in studio for the first 5 years before calling the 1991 Final Four. So if you're doing the math on that, I was about 9 years old. So the last 31 years, I've gotten to hear him call the Final Four, and I thoroughly enjoy Final Four Saturday night. I am not so much a fan of National Championship Monday night because I wake up at 5 a.m. now to do a sports talk radio show, and for some reason, the NCAA tournament and CBS think we all cannot see a basketball game prior to 9 p.m. Eastern time, which, yes, I'm old and cranky about that, but I do stay up and catch it because, one, typically I'm invested in the game. Two, Jim Nantz is one of those guys that will draw me to listening to a college basketball game. So we will we'll kind of wish him farewell from the tournament. Again, it's after next year. He's still going to be around for this year and next year. But next year's Final Four will take place in Houston. And I didn't realize this. Nance actually graduated from Houston or attended the University of Houston and hosted Guy Lewis, then basketball coach in the 80s. He hosted the television show for Guy Lewis. So a lot of connections there with Jim Nance, but certainly someone that I'll miss. And again, there's just certain people that I kind of enjoy listening to. And Nance is one of those guys. And as I just mentioned, even with College Game Day, I've always had it on. It's just a staple of Saturday morning. I will admit that I think it was getting maybe a little stale there. I hate seeing what happens with I hate seeing what is happening with Lee Corso. It's just unfortunate because again, I've never tuned into Game Day and go, I wonder what great analysis Lee Corso will have today. I've tuned in because it's entertainment. It's the same for me as watching Friends or Everybody Loves Raymond. It's just entertainment. And then you cycle in football with it. And it's a great way to start your Saturday morning. But I've liked what College Game Day has done by adding Pat McAfee there to their broadcast and making it a little bit different. So that's just a little television thing there. And a couple of you weighing in and also pointing out Jim Nance roomed with Freddie Couples. Yep, he's a roommate there at Houston with Fred Couples. So obviously a relationship there. Nance, again, will continue to call the Masters. He'll continue to be part of CBS's NFL coverage. He just will not be part of the NCAA men's basketball tournament anymore moving forward. 803-404-6100. Papa Joe weighs in, says, I love Jim Nance. Al Michaels, Kevin Harling, and John Madden, when he was still calling games, stand out to him as well. Again, South Carolina and Missouri on Saturday afternoon, 4 o'clock. You can hear Shane Beamer right here today. He will do the weekly press conference with the media. You can hear it 1:30 on 107.5 The Game, and then Jay and Terry will break that down. And one of the things I'll be listening to, the two major things. One, making sure that the team is completely healthy. Saturday night after the game, Sunday in his teleconference, Shane Beamer saying that they came out of the Texas A&M game relatively healthy. So good news, nothing significant. We'll see if that's still the case today when Shane Beamer meets with the media. And then the other part is, all right, you're ranked. You're now ranked. People will start to take a little bit of notice. You see a few things popping up here and there. When you go to CBSSports.com or ESPN, or you go to 24/7 Sports or whatever it may be, they talk about the ranked teams for this coming week, who plays who. South Carolina will now be in those articles. So it's great publicity. How do you follow up with it? How do you keep your team from believing that they've arrived? How do you keep your team? It's easy for us, the fans and the media, to go, well, you got this flaw and that flaw, and this needs to be fixed, and boy, that's got to be a lot better. How does this team handle a little bit of success? And I'm very excited to see what they do on Saturday, how Shane Beamer can continue to promote getting better, but also maintaining your composure on Saturday. This is a very winnable game. Missouri's not a bad team, mind you. They're not a good team either. They are ninth in the league in running the football. They're going to pass it a little bit. We've talked about this. Brady Cook coming into this game. He's a guy that is struggled a little bit this year, but if you give him some openings, if you allow him to develop confidence early on, he can get going and beat you, and that's something that South Carolina cannot afford to have happen. The Gamecocks will once again need to come out of the gate, start quickly. You don't have to necessarily run a kickback, but you've got to start quickly, and you got to kind of put Missouri behind the 8 ball. One thing about Missouri that should be noted, I don't think they're a very good football team. They have been competitive over the last several weeks. They had that 3-point loss to Auburn, a 4-point loss to Georgia, a touchdown loss to Florida, and they won the game, but it's still a 3-point game with Vanderbilt. So you expect this to be something that's pretty close. Coming up from Missouri after, by the way, if you're wondering if Missouri may look ahead, they will host Kentucky. So 803-404-6100. If you want to weigh in this morning, we'll come back. We'll get you a little Shane Beamer audio as we close up shop from Saturday night and start to really move ahead with the game on Saturday afternoon against Missouri. You're listening to the early game on 107.5.
Here's what's coming up on the next Extra Point.
Leggett, big, strong dude, was able to just kind of run through some tackles there on the edge. And then I thought he had a weird sort of running style to him, and I didn't realize at the time he was doing that with one shoe. So not only had one shoe, but threw up the peace sign on the way by. That was special, and it set the tone for the whole night.
And Shane Beamer said that it was not blocked well, which I'll take his word for it. He knows what should be done there.
Well, maybe they should try not blocking kickoffs well.
Yeah, if
next
that's not
time
blocking, then
that's what it took.
Yeah, how about Bam getting the block there, and then he actually had to put away hit on the QB at the end of the game at the final Hail Mary. So Bam is the closer.
The Extra Point
with Pearson, Preston, and Gamecock Central.
9 a.m. to noon
On your home of the Gamecocks.
107.5 The Game.
Sponsored by Midland Air Service Experts.
An accident 378 near 12th Street, an accident at Shady Grove.
Oh my goodness. Oh.
Let your local heating experts at Midland Air Service Experts keep you worry-free with the Advantage program for just one low monthly payment. Call 866 Experts. See website for license details.
If you have IRS tax problems, it seems like a vicious cycle that never ends, year after year. Just getting the mail can be stressful and overwhelming. Don't let it ruin your life. There is a solution. 2008, the attorneys at Exxon Law Firm.
Oh, wait. All right.
We have the knowledge and experience dedicated to the success of each client. Their local attorney, local support. At the free initial consultation, we'll listen to your
Where's the
goals and explain the systematic process we use in solving your tax problems. From that initial meeting, you'll see that dedicated to improving your life by solving your tax problems. Sound like someone you want to work with? Take that first step. Give us a call at 803-771-9800.
Dang, Final Four doesn't come back around. Jeez. I was looking to see if the Final Four came back around us anytime soon, but they don't have it. They've got it booked out to Indianapolis, Houston, Phoenix, San Antonio, and Indianapolis. I'd like to come back here. Or not come back to Columbia, but Atlanta. Somewhere close by. Where else has it been that would be relatively close by? Atlanta? New Orleans, maybe?
If you're dealing with injuries or pain, count on the experts at Lexington Orthopedics and Sports Medicine to get you moving again. Our highly specialized physicians offer comprehensive care for patients at 5 convenient locations throughout the Midlands. Whether you're an athlete looking to return to your sport after injury or someone who needs help for knee, hip, elbow, shoulder, or foot pain, our expert team can get you better sooner. Visit lexmed.com/ortho to learn more.
Let's play Shane Beamer number 11 coming in. Number 11, thanking the fans. If you got that, it says thanking the fans.
Broadcasting live from the Herndon Chevrolet Studios. This is 107.5 The Game. Stop by, shop online today, and see why Herndon Chevrolet makes you smile. The early game with Bill Gunter and Jen Jensen on your home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game.
First of all, I want to thank our fans. That environment tonight
is the greatest I've ever been a part of, starting with the Gamecock Walk, a 2001 Sandstorm, just the advantage that they gave us throughout the night. I told the players at the hotel, we haven't gotten off to good starts here at home, and I don't know if it's because we're caught up in 2001 and Sandstorm and Gamecock Walk, and then we don't get out there and execute like we should. So I told the team at the hotel literally right before we came over here that I understand the crowd's going to be a great advantage for us, but we're not going to win the game because of the crowd. And I may have screwed that up because the noise they created, the false starts they caused, thank you. That was awesome environment, and I'm so happy for all of Gamecock Nation. It's been a long, however many, 8 years or whatever since we beat those guys. So I want our fans to celebrate the heck out of that one.
Shane Beamer on last Saturday night following the victory over Texas A&M. Again, he will speak with the media coming up today, 1:30 for his weekly press conference. You can hear that right here on 107.5 The Game, as we will have that for you live, and you can hear what he needs to say in regards to injuries, bouncing back. A couple of statistics on Shane. Again, we're talking about is now you're starting to have a real resume of things out there with Shane Beamer. The Gamecocks are 10-1 under Shane Beamer when they score first. Pretty nice little stat. Gamecocks are 12-3 under Shane Beamer when scoring 20 or more points. And while it says under Shane Beamer, given that he's only had one defensive coordinator, I think that's a pretty strong stat. It tells you getting to 20 or more points generally produces a victory. Now, that's not necessarily the case last year when they took on Missouri and scored over 20, but lost. But tells you something about Clayton White's defense, and that's something from Saturday night that maybe we haven't talked enough about. I spent some time talking about it yesterday, and the way they tackled, how physical they were, the defensive line, Jimmy Lindsey continuing to develop that defensive line and them coming along very nicely. Boogie Huntley, Tonka Hemingway, Zach Pickens playing a very good game, MJ Webb on the interior, and then I think Jordan Birch continues to step up and be pretty good. And one other statistic that I don't, 803-404-6100. I'm interested in what you think of it. South Carolina is 6-2 under Shane Beamer in games decided by 10 points or less. 6-2. Not bad there, finding ways to win down the stretch. I mean, again, I get it. People maybe wanted them to kick the field goal on Saturday night and take the 12-point lead, 33-21. That would have, obviously, maybe it works out. Maybe it doesn't. Maybe something goes completely haywire. Obviously, the Gamecocks ended up winning the football game. But it is interesting to hear some of those statistics because it starts to give you a little bit of an idea of what occurs or what is happening with Shane Beamer. And I'll give you those again. 10-1 is the South Carolina record when they score first under Shane Beamer. They are 12-3 under Shane Beamer when the offense scores or when they score 20 or more points. And again, I like that statistic because it tells you a little something about Clayton White. And as he continues to bring in more talent, especially along the defensive line, you've got Pup Howard coming in at the linebacker spot, and the secondary continues to be improved. So the defense continues to step up when you see that statistic. And again, we talk about finding ways coming down the stretch to win ball games or instilling confidence in your team that they can get the job done. South Carolina is 6-2 under Shane Beamer in games decided by 10 points or less. So that's pretty strong stuff right there. One other thing that I'll mention going into the Missouri game, South Carolina has been a very good second half team. Now, obviously, Saturday night they were able to put up 13 offensive points after the 17-point first quarter. But the Gamecocks the Gamecocks have been very productive in the second half. They've only scored 38 first quarter points and 87 points in the first half combined, but the South Carolina scored 76 third quarter points, and I'll get to why I like that in a minute, and 69 fourth quarter points. South Carolina has outscored the opponents 145-87 after halftime. I use that statistic because, again, as we talk about Shane Beamer and we continue to see things develop with him as a coach and his staff, one thing you take away from that statistic is the fact that this team continues to make some adjustments at halftime that make them better. I go back and I'll give you that statistic again, but one thing I was going to look at real quick is when I give you this stat from the second half, okay? Second half, South Carolina has outscored its opponents 145-87 this year in the second half. And of those 87 points, you got to remember, Georgia has 25 of them, I believe, 24 of them. Let me go back and make sure I'm correct on that. Has 24 of them. Georgia has 24 out of the 87 that South Carolina has given up in the second half. 21 of those came in the third quarter, by the way. But I like how they're making adjustments at halftime and being able to come out and play better in the second half. And that we can talk about Marcus Satterfield. And yes, there are flaws there. Totally understandable. but there does seem to be some adjustments there as well that have made them better. The Kentucky game, I think, is a great way to look at it, and some of the adjustments that were made. Obviously, Shane Beamer saying on Saturday night as well that they needed to do a better job of getting the ball to their playmakers. But South Carolina has made good adjustments, and the same goes for Clayton White and what you've been able to see him do in the second half. And obviously, even more so, the statistic on Saturday night from Texas A&M running back Devin Achane that he had over 100 yards rushing in the first half, finished the game with 99 yards rushing. So a lot of really good positive things there from Shane Beamer, from Clayton White, and I think even from Marcus Satterfield as it pertains to second half adjustments. And that's something as we come down the stretch, the Missouri game this weekend, when you go to the Swamp in Florida, I probably should throw Vanderbilt in there as well, but South Carolina should be able to line up and win that game. But when you have Missouri this weekend, you got Vanderbilt, and even games against Tennessee and Clemson, making those second half adjustments to be able to hold on and win a football game or battle back and win a football game is going to be extremely important. Let's listen to a few more minutes from Shane Beamer's press conference. We played a little bit earlier, but again, as we wrap up the Texas A&M game and we look ahead to Missouri on Saturday, Shane Beamer met with me Saturday night after the game. Again, here's his opening statement and what he had to say as it pertains. Oh, we'll get it in just a second there. We got a little computer glitch, but we'll get to that. I want you to hear again him talking about the crowd, the atmosphere, even the opening kick in which Xavier Legette loses his shoe and South Carolina runs down the right sideline. But it was certainly something that South Carolina can build upon. They can move forward with, and they can use that momentum, not just in recruiting, but on the football field. And again, that's what I'll be listening for today, is how Shane Beamer plans to attack Missouri and keep his team composed, keep his team from getting too high. You never want them to get too low. Go back to the Georgia game. We talked about they don't have a room full of quitters. They have guys that stayed focused on the plan and were ready to go. Well, now you got to kind of do the opposite, right? Hey, we've won back-to-back games. We kind of took down somebody in Kentucky who's been able to beat us, take care of us the last 7 or 8 years. Then you finally take down Texas A&M. Now you're going to have to bounce back this week against a Missouri team where you're favored. You're favored. I'd have to go back and look the last time. I don't know if South Carolina was favored in that Auburn game last year, but as I say it out loud, it's very likely that South Carolina has not been favored in a SEC game since Vanderbilt last year. And so again, it's a different way. You've got the different mentality. You're going to be the hunted this weekend, not the hunter. You've got to go in and win that football game. And how Shane Beamer is able to motivate his team, and not just Shane Beamer, but Marcus Satterfield, Clayton White, Jimmy Lindsey on the defensive line, Torian Gray with the defensive backs, Justin Stepp, you get the point. Don't need to name the whole coaching staff, but how they motivate and have this team ready is going to be very intriguing this weekend, and I'm excited to see what they do and if this program can build upon it. Who knows? They might come out with a ton of confidence and just blow Missouri out the water and move a little bit further up in the polls. With Missouri and Vanderbilt, you've got a chance to jump yourself into the top 20 with back-to-back wins and continue to build some publicity, which helps with recruiting, which would help with 2023, which would build to 2024. So a lot there. 803-404-6100 is how you can join us. As always, you can go to our live stream, go to youtube.com, search 1075 The Game, click join, subscribe, be a part of the program. I want to remind you this coming week, we got a lot for you. You've heard me talk about the Shane Beamer press conference that's coming up later today, with a lot of other stuff going on as well. Heath Klein will be out at Columbia Craft on Friday doing his show from 3 to 6 p.m. So you can go by and see him. Thursday night, you can listen to Carolina Calls with Shane Beamer and the fans from 6 to 7. And you'll also be able to hear the Tommy Moody Show on Thursday night right after Carolina Calls there, 7 p.m. You can tune in and listen to the Tommy Moody Show. I'll have to ask Tommy what exactly the topic du jour is this week and see what he's got lined up. And then also Thursday night, right after the Tommy Moody Show, you'll be able to listen to the Baltimore Ravens and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as they have a little Thursday night action. And then on Friday night, also want to remind you, the Love Chevy Friday Night High School Scoreboard Show, 9 p.m. to midnight each and every Friday night. Just 2 weekends left of the regular season, I believe, is what Chris Deering told us last Friday. So the high school season winding down and we head to the playoffs, much like we head to the month of November after this weekend for college football. We'll get some college football playoff rankings. We'll start to look ahead to bowl scenarios. A lot to do, but South Carolina's got to get past Missouri on Saturday afternoon. Tomorrow, we'll be joined again as we are. We might have a few different guests. We'll give you some tickets to go to the Missouri game on Saturday. So we got a lot to do tomorrow. Thursday, J.C. Shurburtt will be back. Brian Edwards will stop by and make his picks for the weekend. And Kerry Tharp will join us. And then Friday, we'll get you ready. Patrick Perrette and Chris Deering will be stopping in. So we've got a busy rest of the week lined up for you. Big thank you to J.C. Shurburtt for joining us this morning. Talked a lot about that. Ed Bird gets those up on the podcast page. You can go and check that out. Go to 107.5 The Game. Click on the podcast tab, and anything you missed, you can listen there. We will be back tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of the day.
The home of the Gamecocks. 107.5 The Game. WNKT FM, Eastover, Columbia. A Cumulus Media.
All right, everybody. Thank you. Very informative show. Plenty of statistics. We will do it all again tomorrow morning. I need to check and see what Tony Annan's schedule is. I forget if he's in tomorrow or not. I went to say that there and couldn't remember. So we will definitely do it again tomorrow. Y'all take care and have a great rest of the day.